Hello, hello. Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Grace, but there's music in the background. It's like Frank Ifield type music.
Okay, the music has stopped.
Yeah, it's not your music. Oh, well, it's not the meditation. You had meditation music on before?
I did, and I turned it off.
And it's like in the background there's some music playing. It's like old type music, Frank Ifield or someone like that.
Oh, really? There's no music on now. Can you still hear the music?
Yep.
You can?
Alex can't hear. Yeah, maybe I need to log off and come back in again.
Yeah, see what happens.
I can hear you quite clearly, but there's music in the background. I don't know. Jeez. Okay, I'll log off and I'll come back, okay?
Okay. How are you, Alex?
I'm fandibulous.
You gonna put your camera on?
No way.
Why?
Nah, I'm just in the caravan. I can.
Oh.
Because my connection's really bad at the moment, so it drops out quite easily. So if I put the video on, it's probably going to kill it, I would imagine.
Oh, in
I'll
that
try.
case. No, okay.
I'll give it a try, see what happens. Oops, what have I done?
Just in case you drop off, otherwise I'll be by myself.
Yeah, that's it.
Now one computer's playing up.
Oh, we're having a funny day, are we?
Yeah. It's one of the things, it's chaotic right now in the astral plane. So now it's been talking about, hey!
Hey, there we go.
Hey!
Got the holiday.
So how long are you there for?
Till Tuesday. Going home on Tuesday.
Sweet. So what's going on with the beard?
Oh, you know, just not working, so it can be lazy. Bit of a growth going. Just forget to shave. What a shame. Yeah, gone dead now. I'll turn this video off. I don't know if you can hear me. You're frozen.
Ah, I can hear you now, Grace.
Oh, it's a bit fuzzy.
Very fuzzy, you're. Strange day.
It's a very strange day. Why is my camera fuzzy?
Your bandwidth is low, it's saying.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Are you host?
Yeah, but I strongly recommend you turn your video off.
Yeah.
What I'll do is,
because my laptop kicked me off again, I have to reconnect my my internet. Okay.
Yeah. If it happens again, just do that. I'm
Yeah.
guessing you don't have data on your phone.
I'm on my mobile. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get out of here. I'll just switch my electricity again. Won't be a sec.
Yep. Okay. So we're having fun at the moment. Grace's internet is doing weird and wonderful things.
Yeah, I can hear you quite clearly now.
Yeah, no, my thing was playing up. It's not playing up anymore. But yeah.
It's very interesting how it happens, isn't it? I had to turn my iPad totally off because I think the music was coming from my end. Got no idea
Really?
how it started. Yeah, I've got no idea how it started or anything. It happened once before. Yeah, it just all of a sudden starts playing music.
Yeah,
When
it's
I'm
funny
on
how it
something
works,
else.
isn't it?
Yeah, you just
The
got to
strange
stop.
day of technology.
Well, it's all energy, so I guess it's pretty easy for the energetic other side to fiddle with it.
Yes, exactly. Grace has returned.
Yeah, but I'm on my mobile still because it takes a while to kick off the internet. It's a very interesting day today.
I do indeed agree.
What has happened? It's like it's like the forces are coming against us.
Probably.
I was just saying, Grace, I was just saying to Warren, Grace, I had to restart my iPad too because the music was playing again.
Oh, so has it stopped playing?
Well, yeah, because I don't know how to turn it off when it's doing that. So I just turn the whole iPad off and start again.
Really interesting, isn't it?
I think it's great.
Very. Obviously, we're on the right track here.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Let's see what's going on for my internet. Yeah, because all morning my internet has been playing up. What's happening on my electrical connections here? So, what can we do about it, hey? Stand on our feet, do some spiritual warfare. Put on the armor of God. Put on the whole armor and we stand against the wiles of the enemy.
Absolutely.
Okay, looks like let's see, my connection's restored on my laptop. I think. The great challenges. Let's see if it works. Ooh, something's happening. I'm not host, am I?
There's
Warren?
co-host.
What? Nope.
Okay. Okay, we'll see how we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, we'll have to make you host permanently, Warren, just in case I get kicked out.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So here we are. Now we're going to continue and nothing's going to stop us.
That's good.
How's your bandwidth, Christine? Do you want to go on camera?
Let me have a look.
Yay! The professor. I just love your background.
I was thinking I need to find another background.
No, I think it's super cool.
Oh dear.
So we had another great session in the rocks yesterday. It was very interesting, wasn't it?
It was. Gosh. Oh, it was so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, I was really good. I was fine. And then feeling into Linda, oh my God, that forced me to go to the toilet. But I prefer doing that at the other end than vomiting, to be honest.
Oh dear. It
Oh,
was amazing.
how was she after?
Well, I think she was pretty tired because the tennis club had arranged for the tennis to start at 4 o'clock, and she didn't know whether she was going to go or not. And it was still stinking hot here. It was still 39. And she said, "Oh, I'll go." And I said, "Well, you're probably better off to just stay home. It's that hot out there."
Mm.
So anyway, she didn't. So she just rested, I think. So yeah, they have got aircon in their house. But, you know, to go out and play tennis after all that and the heat, I thought was probably not a good idea.
Oh, Steve turned his camera off. Yeah, so, but did she relax after yesterday's work?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, she was just home resting, I think.
Yeah.
She sounded pretty tired, though. When I spoke to her about 3:30 yesterday, she sounded quite tired. So. It was a big, long session. That was an hour and a half.
It was a huge session, but I can see her and she could see me. And I don't know about how it was for you guys, but for working in the spirit, in the astral plane, was what was needed for her. But she could see me and I can see her. That's the main thing. And she knew the outworkings and what was going on, and she was feeling it. And so was I. So that was the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I only sort of saw one little bit, which I told you about, and the rest of the time I just really was holding space and sending love and doing what I could sort of in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finding that dealing with the dark nights of the soul, because it's so deep and it's difficult to express in words. The best thing I can do is just dive right in where she's at. So that's what we do. I like what we did Friday sessions as well. We just dive in there and feel through the waves, the currents, and our ego, our mind struggles to really make sense of it. But I think the main practice is to really be still in the mind and dissolving the ego.
Yeah, well, I felt I was able to do that, and as I told you, with that pressure in my head, every time it came up, I understood what it was, and I was able to let that go. So that was good. Because otherwise, it would have been a lot of pressure because there was a lot of energy there.
Mm. Yeah. So with last week's message with Dark Night of the Soul, how's everyone taking it? How's your space for the week? Because it's been certainly interesting for Christine and I, hasn't it? Moving into that realm.
It has indeed, and you're right. You can't. It's so difficult to express it in words, and sometimes you come out of it and you sort of even think, "What happened?" Really?
Well, I feel like right now my heart's in heart surgery, open surgery, and the balance of that is trying to function in the 3D while your heart is on operation, open surgery, and I'm finding I'm a lot more sensitive in everything. And metaphorically, my house has been so hot, which has been good. The heat is up. Everything's increased, isn't it?
Yeah. It just seems as if everything's happening faster and faster.
Mm. Well, we are in a true spiritual warfare. Everything's acting out in the physical. Lexi's in America, so you wouldn't be, particularly the closer you are in the DC or all those areas that's happening, it'd be very, very challenging meeting the energy field. But then again, we can feel the impact here as well.
Yeah, it's been pretty lately, actually. I'm managing the best I can, I guess.
So what have you been doing, Lexi, to just go in your flow rather than being caught up in everyone else's?
Exactly. Yeah, I was actually invited by a friend to go to DC on the 6th when they did that rally, and decided that was definitely not a good decision for me, as sensitive as I am with energy and all this. I thought I would be more effective from my own bedroom instead of being in the middle of it and overwhelmed.
Mm. Yeah, because it's important. I mean, we have our own work, we have our own individual energy field and what we're operating on, but catching on others, particularly where you are, Lexi, getting caught up in the propaganda and all that, and also you're so sensitive and you're journeying so deep, it's going to impact your blueprinting.
Right, absolutely. I'm feeling a lot around my solar plexus today, which is interesting because I'm actually working on solar plexus PowerPoint. So just really aligning and centering and finding balance and collapsing duality the best I can. I guess is what I've been focusing on today, especially.
Mm.
Finding joy and being happy still, even though there's so much craziness going on.
Yeah. How are you handling the craziness?
I've just not out staying off Facebook a lot more. Not letting definitely I used to let things trigger me sometimes, but now I notice that I don't really get triggered anymore. I just kind of back away and disengage and mind my own little world and not get caught up in other people's opinions of what's going on, because there's so many of them.
Yeah, so many throwing around and everyone's being pulled down from YouTube, social media on all the messages.
Yeah, they're taking Parler down.
They're taking Parler down.
They are taking it off the App Store. I don't know if people will still have access to it who are on Parler still, but I know that they are taking it off of the App Store so people wouldn't be able to download it.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's madness for sure. And so I guess Biden was declared the official presidential candidate elect. So I'm curious to see how that goes and what Trump does from here, because I know he's not done, and neither are any of his people. So I'm just curious to see how that's going to play out this year.
Oh, Trump's definitely not done. He's only started.
Right, right. Interesting to see his role here, but what's really bothering the most is I think it was George Soros is the person responsible for putting so many millions of dollars into this deceit of MAGA people. So you have people going around saying that they're Trump supporters and doing a lot of chaotic things, but they're actually not Trump supporters. So a lot of deception going on, and a lot of things to decipher through and realize who's playing what part and why, I guess.
Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's who, because as we know, Source is doing all this, positioning everybody, giving authority.
Right, exactly.
Hmm.
That's what a lot of people have been focusing their attention on, is like finding out what's going on, what side is doing this, and how much deception there actually is. But yeah, you're exactly right. At the end of the day, it's all divinely orchestrated for human awakening.
Well, even the elect will be deceived, won't they? So our thing is that we don't focus on the outward, and we go by guidance and where we position ourselves.
Yes, positioning underneath a safe umbrella of people who are taking this ascension serious.
Yeah, well, the reality, you know, the illusions will always get us in every area of our lives, won't it? So it's really a matter of tuning in, and particularly you can journey very deep, Lexi. The time that we journeyed was awesome.
It was. I know. I actually, I really enjoyed journeying that deep and doing all of those things that we were able to do through that method. It was really interesting. The cosmos had a lot.
Yeah, well, Christine is certainly experiencing her own journeys, aren't you, Christine? And what it really means, going deep, and how do we tap into that frequency and bringing it back to earth? Because at the end of the day, we can journey so deep in the spirit, but how do we reflect it in our 3D? How do we create?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, because you have to bring it back. It has to mean something here.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm learning for myself is that the more we drop down our guard, our mask, and have a soft heart and really humble ourselves, dissolve our ego, we can really easily tap into that. And if we are really transient people and we're going to use our alchemy, we really have to practice how to do that. If we're going to do, yeah, so we're shapeshifters, we're masters at shape-shifting. So if we can shapeshift in the and manifest it in the physical, that is our warfare, isn't it? Like that lady, if you listen to that video with Catherine talking about taking the military, and our military is in the spiritual warfare. We already have that. And taking the oceans, taking all the laws, we've got all that. We've actually we've got all that access in the spirit. So now it's just shaping and shifting into manifestation in the earth.
Yeah, like our alchemizing, definitely. Within ourselves, collapsing the old and creating a new experience, more aligned with the purity of energy, and not so connected to the ego, but more so in awareness of the connection to everyone.
Yes, well, I'm finding that, like, you know, as you know, we've got Global Wealth Club, our business entity. And so creating that Global Wealth Club represents heaven on earth for us, creating an empowering sovereign individual in business. So part of that is the merchants. So impacting the merchants in this realm, and creating that platform for us to really move in power and taking back our own law back to ourselves as well as a community.
Absolutely. This definitely sounds very like solar plexus oriented, I feel like.
Oh, there's certainly a lot of happening in the solar plexus, eh, Christina's? We found that yesterday. Oh my God, talk about my solar plexus doing overwork. I really worked yesterday with the solar plexus. Not just the solar plexus, but the heart chakra.
Through journeying?
Yeah, literally, I physically felt it. So I had to excuse myself a few times
Oh, wow.
just to release it off me from the solar plexus. So William didn't have to do it. I did it. But hey, that's what we're here to do. Other than the theme of dark of the night soul, the other theme for this year is of service to humanity. So we're here to service one another. Well, firstly, servicing ourselves, reconnecting ourselves to source, obviously, and then collaborating together here as we gather together each week or whenever we do get together, and servicing what we need to do for the planet.
Definitely time to step up and take action and align with your truth.
Well, if we don't step up, guess who will step up for us, which is already happening?
Who?
There's a massive revolution happening in America, right?
Yeah.
In the physical. So it starts with America. It will impact the whole planet.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of old current patterns playing in. So it's looking kind of like a civil war when people just need.
Forecast is pretty good tomorrow in Sydney, but that's not going to be a factor.
So there definitely is some revolutionary awareness going on, and people wanting to stand up. But I'm just hoping that they do it in the right way, that we all do it in the right way, and not disempower ourselves more.
That's good. How's everyone else? Warren said he would come on at about a few minutes. He's just sorting his.
Yep, I'm ready. I just got held up a lot because of the technical problems. So my slides are just getting a couple of nice things together for it.
Yeah, it's been challenging this morning. My internet keeps going. Warren's laptop went. Christine's iPad went.
Right.
We were born for challenges, right? We just have to sweat it out. Yeah. So how are you feeling today, Christine, with that big shift of yours Friday?
Actually, I'm feeling really good this morning. I felt, I woke up feeling all over the place, and I've had a couple of days. Oh, what's today? Yesterday, I felt as if I was all over the place as well.
Yeah.
But I did the breathing exercise before I got up this morning, and it's really, I'm feeling really good now. Yeah, so I think that's a plan for now, to keep on with the breathing, because it's like it's just calm me down and give me energy. Yeah.
So you've been practicing that 11-minute breathing?
Yeah, I did it this morning.
Thanks, Max, for just. Yeah. It was Max that suggested that to me, so it's been really excellent. It's been really beneficial.
Yeah, thanks, Max. It actually has. When I first did it, I couldn't last the distance for the time, so holding your breath. But I almost made it for the minute and a half this morning, so that was really good. And it's funny because right at that, while you're doing it, you don't feel any difference. You get up and get going, Oh, actually, I do feel better this morning.
I know for me, it clears my mind. It brings some stillness, puts more oxygen in my mind, and and it allows me to really tap in more and opens me up.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing. It's cleared my mind this morning because I've got lots of sort of businessy, paperworky things to clear up. And yesterday I was thinking, oh, you know, it was hot and it was 44 degrees here yesterday. And not inside, but it got humid as well. And I just didn't do much at all. But today I'm feeling quite different. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's also the purpose of us just chatting the first half hour before Warren comes, or Steve, or whoever comes to present. The purpose of us is to really connect. What's been happening for you this week? How's shifting? You're shifting, and how's your walk in general? And just to be able to share. So this is a time. It might be slow for others, but again, it's just connecting to one another and just tuning into each other. Even though you might not say anything, still your energy impacts everyone here. So anyone else like to share their thoughts before Wazaroo starts the second episode of his Dark Night of the Soul?
Yeah, I'll quickly share, Grace. Just with the emergency 3-day lockdown in Brisbane. Now, I don't live there, but I live north of there, so we're not kind of affected. But I was out at the shops before, and even though, you know, we've got technically nothing to do with it, there were still people starting to wear masks and all those sorts of things. So it is like the you know, humanity is going through a version of the Dark Night of the Soul. You know, the people are just such sheep and believe what they hear on TV and whatnot, and it's sad in one way. You know, I guess I feel a mixture of sadness and probably even anger at the stupidity of people, and perhaps even there's a sense of helplessness there as well. And I think those feelings are reflective of the Dark Night of the Soul.
Totally 100% agree with you, Steve. Like this morning, talking to Warren this morning, my heart was so heavy, so much in pain for humanity, really. It highlighted me more, for me, how selfish I've been, and that's not condemning myself either. The selfishness that I only live for myself, and so that came out clearly. And just feeling into humanity, what's going through for everyone. You can imagine how much fear they've filled. Fear, anxiety, all these things happening for them, and not understanding what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And not having that clarity, and your emotions are going everywhere, not knowing where to go, and particularly wearing masks and being locked down. It just gives that so much insecurity, doesn't it?
Yeah, I saw a post from one of my nieces on Facebook how her and a friend went running, and because they live in Brisbane, they had to wear masks. And she said, but we made it, but we had to stop every couple of kilometres and have a breathing session. You know, like, what the fuck? And the great irony for me was that there was a picture with it of her and a friend with these masks on in their running gear, and their shirt said "wild and free." And I just thought, you know, no, you are anything but free. You've just given into the fear of all of that. And it just, you know, yeah, it was so hard to breathe while we were running. We had to stop and catch our breath. And, you know, oh, for fuck's sake, it's just the insanity of it is just, and I even sent Warren a thing this morning from Queensland Health, and the language they are using about why people in Brisbane now must wear masks in their cars when they're by themselves and driving. Right. Now that makes literally no sense, right? That there's no one else with you, that you have to wear a mask in your car. And the language from Queensland Health was that, well, it's to get you in the good habits of doing the right thing so we're all safe. And it's just that whole big mind control of the machine just in action. And it's, yeah, it's really despairing.
But the craziness is that it begins with us, isn't it? It begins the individual. The one that can change is you and me, not the authority. So if we can find the courage to face that trial, I guess we've got too much to lose. We're too attached to so many stuff that we're scared of losing, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I guess as everything's panning out, this is not the time to be attached. We are in full of insecurities.
Yep, hang on.
And how we move in that current is what will be the outcome for us.
But yeah, I think that attachment is a big one in the dark night of the soul. It makes the journey through there even harder, I think, if you have all these attachments.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just attachment of the physical things, it's attachment in our emotions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be a paradigm shift, a massive paradigm shift internally.
Yeah. I think it's the challenge, though, is it's easy to say, oh, yeah, let go of my attachments, let go of my attachment. But the reality is that's really hard to do because they're so ingrained in us.
Even that word letting go, let go. What the hell do I let go? What am I holding on to? I don't think I'm holding on to anything.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know that too well, right?
Yeah.
That's been screaming at me, Steve. Let go, Grace. Let go. I'm like, I don't think I'm holding on to anything. Oh, yes, you are. Shine the light in the hidden parts.
Yeah. And that's the uncomfortable part, right, is acknowledging that you do have attachments.
And also, that's why I'm in total gratitude working in the group sessions and doing transformation with, one-on-one as well as group sessions, because that allows me to really look at myself, really invites the light to shine in and see what are the things that I have hidden. Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's all good. Now, Warren, are we ready?
I actually am ready, yes. I was always ready.
Is that so?
At the beginning of the world, I was ready.
All right, I'll hand it over to you. Thanks, everyone.
I once was not, but now I am.
Well, right now you're using words. Use power and might, shall we?
We live in words. We live in a human realm of words and authority. And it's being very annoying right now, my computer. I'm just bringing it up, and every time I go to print something, it doesn't work to push something on. So quite fun.
All right, so
last attempt.
What's it speaking to you? How's that speaking to you?
It's speaking to me about the wonders of patience. That's what it's speaking about to me. Okay, anyway, I'll have to forego that one. Okay, so hello everyone, and looking forward to teaching about the hero's journey today. That's really been something that I've had strongly on my heart to go into and look into this a little bit more and what this actually means for us and how it applies in the real world. So great to see everyone today. Let me just get up. Okay, yes, I'm going to share my screen. Bingo. Can you all see my screen okay? Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. Well, this is a I was listening with interest to what Lexi was sharing before and about America and what's actually happening over there. And I thought, yep, it's very much what I can feel and what I can see is going on in the world right now. And really, it's just all part of a mass preparation. I was sent a very interesting picture from someone today. And rather than actually giving my normal word, which is I normally like to draw a card or draw a ruin stone to start the thing, I might actually just share that with you, was my sense. So before we do, who would like to start by sharing the prayer of Yeshua, or who would like to start by praying today and doing our activation to activate and open things up?
I can do it.
Awesome, great, Lexi, thank you.
Yeah. O thou, from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light, and vibration. May your light be experienced in my utmost holiest. Your heavenly domain approaches. Let your will come true in the universe, all that vibrates, just as on earth it is material and dense. Give us wisdom, understanding, assistance for our daily need. Detach the fetters of faults that bind us, karma, like we let go of the guilt of others. Let us not be lost in superficial things, materialism, karma, and temptations. But let us be freed from that which keeps us from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age. Amen. Sealed in trust, faith, and truth, I confirm with my entire being.
Awesome, thanks, Lexi. So I always like to start with the Lord's Prayer, just so everyone knows, because Jesus said to pray like this. And why did he say that? And some stage, what I'm planning to do, either in this or in another session, is actually teach you on the Lord's Prayer and actually break the whole thing down in depth. That's because it's what I call the complete activation. In other words, there's literally everything that you can imagine that needs to be covered in your prayer is covered in this one prayer. So you can actually break this down, you can expand it, but it literally covers all aspects of material world, spiritual world, every single world you could imagine. So today's word, this was actually sent to me by a friend of mine. And although it's not technically from a spiritual scroll or anything, or from a tarot or rune card, we can be spoken to by all things. And I think this summarizes everything. And certainly when what Lexi was sharing about America, what's going on, I think you can really see it in America. But keep in mind that in America, it's just a little bit more out there. American culture tends to be in your face. Like Americans want guns, they've got guns. If Americans want to say something, they say something. And this is what you've got here. So it says if you go to the Southwest Desert and catch 100 red fire ants and 100 large black ants and chuck them in a jar, nothing actually happens. But if you violently shake the jar and dump them back on the ground, the ants will fight each other until they kill each other. The thing is, the red ants think the black ants are the enemy and vice versa, when in reality, the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. This is exactly what's happening in society today. Liberal versus conservative, black versus white, pro-mask versus anti-mask, pro-vax versus anti-vax. In other words, getting caught right in the triangle of persecutor, rescuer, and victim. So danger right now is us whites need to be rescued from Black Lives Matter and from this Illuminati. And this is exactly what they want, to keep everyone in duality and keep everyone thinking in that way. So the real question we need to be asking is who is shaking the jar and why? Who finds that a brilliant metaphor to describe what's actually happening right now in the world? Because the truth is, there is a group of people who are shaking the jar right now. And when you have to understand who Mr. Global is and who's really shaking the jar, let's just say it's very unlikely that many of you would have actually ever heard of this group of people. Something I was told years ago in underground. And they're very religious, very, very religious. And that is why you're noticing that a lot of this changes, because what you've got to look at is the effects of what's happening. So the effects are like masking people up, number one. The effects is that you're seeing people getting compulsory shots for control. You're also seeing things like limiting dancing, singing, and certain movement. Now, if you actually look at certain societies, religious societies, you'll see that's very common. So one thing you know, whoever this group of people is very religious. And they're a religious group that goes way back, way before Christ, way back into the time of Babylon, way back to the beginnings of Nimrod. And a group that is so clever in having hidden their identity that you will not find them very easily in any modern day history book because they've basically deleted them all. I have been able to read 1907 encyclopedias compared to, say, later ones, and you've seen this group of people clearly discussed in the 1907 Encyclopedia Britannica and history books, but not so in the later one. That is very consistent with civilizations and what happens when civilizations get taken over by a conqueror. It is very common to change history books, teach the history that you want people to learn, and to basically change languages to be a language that's more aligned with yours and get rid of the language of the people. This is all a very common signs of a takeover. So changing the language, changing the identity, getting people to move location almost by force, restricting people's movements. This is exactly all a very standard act of a takeover. So if you're thinking to yourself, it sounds like we are being taken over or society is being by a religious group, the answer is yes. And really, as I shared with someone at the markets today, it's just a very simple representation of our collective consciousness and what's going on. So realizing that the true shamans and the true prophets and the true believers know we can shift things not only in our own life, but when we shift ourselves, we can transform everything that's going on around and about us once we move out of duality. I was reading about a shaman today, or situation where there was a village that for 6 years had constant drought. And out of nowhere, after being a very fertile with rain, within 6 years, the people's crops were dying. Even the shamans of the village were unable to do anything. And the village got desperate because people couldn't eat. They were starting to die. They brought in a shaman from way outside the village. The first thing that the shaman came in when they noticed was the incredible sense of misery, anger, despair, poverty, mentality, and noticed that the shamans had taken on the consciousness of the people of the village and no longer had any impact. So the shaman said to all the people, I'm going into this hut for 3 days minimum. Don't disturb me under any circumstances whatsoever. I'll come out when I'm ready. So the shaman went into the hut. After 3 days, the shaman hadn't left the hut. On the 4th day, the sky went overcast, rain started to pour, and rain hit the village and just poured and poured and poured. So, of course, after day 4, the shaman walked out of the hut. And, of course, the first thing the people wanted to do was, after thanking the shaman for what happened, they just asked the shaman, what did you do, and why couldn't our shamans help? And the shaman said, well, our shamans could, your shamans were just completely immersed and caught up in the culture. That's why they were no longer serving the village and doing what they were meant to do because they were caught in the energy. And she said, when I got there, I could feel the energy of the village, and I was starting to feel like I was taking on that consciousness, and I was starting to become one with it. And so I had to go into the hut to balance myself. It took me 3 days to balance myself. Once I balanced myself, because I balanced myself, by indirectly, I balanced all the energies of the village, and it all came together. So there's a deep secret of shamanism, which you can all learn today. The shaman was able to balance everything within himself, and then everything outside of himself started to shift. So the moral of the story is, if you don't like your life right now, or if you don't like what you're seeing go about you, go into your inner chamber and balance yourself first. That's my word for the day. And it is not a case of pro-mask, anti-mask. And I was even asked, we were talking about this just the other day, and about vaccines. I said, if people want to vaccinate, they can. I said, I don't have a problem with it. I said, Equally, if people don't want to vaccinate, I'm okay with it. And I said, it's really two sides of the same coin. And once you start to realize that and shift it and neutralize all of the energies, things start to come into balance. Who can resonate with this, or who's found this very helpful today? What's this word or this message? Yeah, isn't it good? I found this excellent. So the more you can balance yourself today, everyone, you can change your community. That's the first message I want you all to hear. If you can balance yourself, you can change the community. The fact that you're sitting in this webinar listening to Grace and I speak or whatever, and means you're attracting to the energy, which means you can bring a shift in your community. So that's the message of today, but it starts with you first. It doesn't start with a reform movement. And that was why, well done to those of you who've been focusing on that. Well done to Lexi for not rushing down to that rally. And that's why these rallies aren't working. This is a consciousness thing that's happening right now in America, Australia. Protests, anti-lockdown, anti-this will not work because all that's happening is you've got two different sides of the same coin and one side stronger than the other because the pendulum swung. 50 years ago in America, coloured people were the ones who didn't have the power. And the stronger side was the segregation white side. Now we just see the swap round in reverse. We're seeing cancel culture, segregation of the whites. All that's happened is the pendulum swung round, and the same thing karmically is happening because the karmic wheel hasn't been broken in the US and hasn't been broken in Australia. That's why if you want to change things, you've got to shift the karma of that country. For those of you in America and for those in Australia, and shifting the karma of the country starts by shifting it in you. In Daniel chapter 9 of the scriptures, you will read that Daniel, when he prayed for his people, notice what he did and what he didn't do. So we'll just quickly go there as part of this initial word to start off today before I share the Heroes Night, because I feel this is an important message for everyone right now and a critical understanding to get you through this dark time and what's happening. So Daniel basically became aware in verse 2 that there was going to be 70 years of captivity and destruction for his people. And he was really upset by that. So he got on his knees and started to pray. But notice what he said in verse 5. He never says, oh God, these motherfucker buggers have sinned. These horrible Americans all around me, these horrible Aussies. Gosh, look at these evil people. I mean, Lord, it's so hard. I'm such a good man or such a good girl. He said, we have sinned. In other words, he was very aware, number one, that he was involved with that karma. And that was why he prayed that. He was part of that karma. In his other incarnations that he'd lived on earth, whatever else, he was part of that karma. Secondly, he knew that even if he wasn't, the reason that he was upon earth as a higher master was to help the community by taking on some of the karma from a place of strength to help release the karma from his people. That's what he knew. See, when Christ came to earth, he didn't come with a whole lot of karma. He came to earth basically because he wanted to help humanity and take on the karma of humanity, because he knew that humanity couldn't shift it itself. He knew it couldn't do it. Daniel knew that his people couldn't do it. So some of you here, you're here because number one, you're in your region because you are associated with that karma. And even if you're not, the reason that you're in that region that you're in right now is to take on, is because your region, without you being there, cannot deal with its karma and will perish. Okay? That's why Jesus said in Matthew 5, you are the light of the world. He didn't say, I am the light of the world. That was obvious for Jesus was the light of the world. But he said, you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. If you're hearing this message today and you're an indigo and you hear the scriptures, you are the light of the world. In other words, if you don't shine your light, your region and your people will perish. Judgment day will come and many will perish. And that is why Ezekiel said, that was warned by the Father, the blood of his people will be upon your head if you do not step into your path. And he wasn't being a deliberate bastard. He was just really telling him a fact and saying, my dear friend Ezekiel, this people's going to perish. That's why you're there. to help these people. You said you would help these people. That was the word you gave me before you incarnated. So if you don't do this and these people perish and the karma is too heavy for these people, then guess what, my friend? You're accountable. Sorry. Because you made the agreement with me, and I make sure that my people stick with their agreements. And that's what the message really is I'm sensing today, because going through the dark night of the soul, now, there's going to be a lot of encouragement, but there has to be a commitment to the path, which means to know why you're here, know why you're on this planet. And if you don't, just say, by logical analysis, if nothing else, I wouldn't be here if either one, I wasn't part of this karmic cycle, or number two, if I'm not, rather than feeling a sense of arrogance and thinking, oh, awesome, I don't, there's actually a deeper humility for you, because your responsibility is even greater, because it means you've chosen to incarnate here as a master to actually help and serve the people of your region and serve the people of the earth, because humanity will not get through this time. And I feel some tears in the hearts of people. And it's because humanity will not, they will perish. This is directly from the Lord, from the Father to all of you today, directly. And he's speaking from his heart to all of you, saying they will perish. The dark night of the soul that's coming for this earth and we're moving into will be too much for many. And he's saying to tell you today, some will perish because they will choose to. And unfortunately, he said, many more than I would like will perish, but many will not. And the emphasis is many will not if you do what you're here to do. Many will not, because they will listen to you. You'll be surprised. They will hear my voice. They will hear the voice of the Father. They will hear the voice of the Holy Spirit in you. They will listen. You'll be surprised. The people of your region will listen. The people around you will listen. The people who you think won't listen will listen. That hard-hearted family member, that hard-hearted client in business, that hard-hearted friend that you've been around will listen, because they will hear the voice and they will turn. And when they turn, and their heart is broken, they will then go and tell others. And all the ones that they bring and clear of their karma and help through this dark night will be credited to you. And you'll be and will be given to you in credits. That's the message I'm being told to tell you, that you will be credited with that. If you help many turn to the light and help many clear their karma, all the ones that they help will be credited to you too. It's like a network marketing scheme, but in a good way. That's the best analogy I can give you. It's like the top up line, there's a credit for the down line. So doing your work and your call is so important right now. In times gone past, we've all had our moments where we've deviated from our path. We've all had moments where we've been undisciplined, where we've just kind of got a bit frustrated with the yoke and the responsibility and just wanted to let rip and just go and do our own thing because it was easier. But there's consequences when we do that. That's the message I'm getting told. And the consequences go beyond our own life. The consequences go for people who don't get the opportunity. And if you don't believe me, just read what Jesus said in the New Testament. There's a scripture where it talks about when he was talking to the Pharisees and to others. And he even said, if Sodom and Gomorrah had heard the message that I'm preaching today, they would not have perished. He actually says that. If Sodom and Gomorrah had heard my message, they would have repented. They would not have gone the path they did and be destroyed. And he said, whereas you are hard-hearted and refusing to listen to me. So it's a really strong message I feel to give you all today on this one, because there is a great reward for this. There is a great reward for doing your path. A great reward is what I'm being emphasized. Anyway, who resonates with that? I know Grace did. She was messaging me furiously, saying like, wow, hitting home. Moving outside this triangle now and serving in 2021. This is what's going to get you through the dark night of the soul, is doing your path and serving. You do that and you won't be touched. In other words, you will be so protected. You'll be looked after. That's what I'm being told to tell you. The Father looks after those who does his work and who listens to what they say. Yep, Lexi and Christine. Lexi, feeling it strongly today even before we started. Yeah, no, I can feel it, Lexi. Keep listening and keep following the voices that are leading you right now, because that's what I was seeing this morning for you. You're being led right now. And there has been some voices in the past that was trying to distract you. But I'm feeling that, yeah, you're listening now to the newer voices that are coming your way, because you're being led into something that's going to be far more fulfilling for you, like far more. So, yeah, Lexi, Christine, Sam, yeah. Who else is ready to take on their responsibility in this time? Yeah, Steve and Max, good. And William, yeah. You too, William. You've got a big calling, as I think you know, but very important that you especially. You're going to help a lot of people in this coming next few years. I've been told many. Lead many to righteousness is what I've been told with you. Many. Because you've got a lot of strength. You're going to push through a lot of stuff. So just, yeah, keep going. Yeah, Alex as well, great. No, it's good, Grace. I can feel it. You're really being touched in your heart, Grace. So yeah, you've got a big responsibility. You know that the same message for Ezekiel was given to you. That's because you've got such a big path in helping humanity through this time, because it's going to be ugly. That's what I keep getting told. So this is the text for the day. Same as before. Even though I walked through the valley, there's a good reason why Psalm 23 is so popular and why it's one of the most popular. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me, for your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So that's the message for the day. If you walk through the valley of death, it won't touch you, won't come near you, because you're in the hand of the Father who's guiding you. So we started Dark Night of the Soul. So I'm just going to do a few extracts of what we came up with. So we talked about St. John of the Cross and how he said the two phases, the first was difficult and the second absolutely horrible. Keep in mind, we haven't experienced the second stage yet. We're only really in the early days of the first stage. So there's a bit more to come yet. So this is a real purification of the spirit of planet Earth. So this is what it talks about here. The God Seeker is initiated through loss. So expect loss. And by the way, if you're smart, before there's loss, you'll sacrifice. In other words, part of the dark night of the soul is loss and divesting yourself of things that are literally weighing you down. Most people have to go through experiences of loss to basically shed them from burdens. The few smart ones who really listen will know to sacrifice. They'll be told to let go of things and they will let go of them quickly. They will give up things without question. Such people will experience minimal loss because they're losing daily. They're giving up daily things that are weighing them down. So this is going to be a time of actually letting go of power, control, reputation, and material things, and giving up things that are holding you back. It doesn't mean you have to go and give away all your money, for example. It only means that if your money is holding you back and you know it's a burden, you may be called to let go of some of it or do something with it. It could just simply be the opposite for you, that you're actually being told to step up and become more responsible with money. Give up your desire for ease and to live a simple life and not to do too much responsibility, because you do need to make money and use it for good. It's really letting go of all that the ego values. And it's a time of being led into a quiet, deep inner chamber to let go of things. So these are some of the quotes I shared last week. Various reasons why people awaken, because they start stand to suffering anymore. Eckhart Tolle, Joseph Campbell, who I'll be sharing a lot from today, teaching a lot of his stuff. The dark night of the soul comes just before revelation. this probably summarizes everything that I'll be sharing with today. When everything is lost and all seems darkness, then comes the new life and all that is actually needed. It's not about having a really bad day. It's a long experience, a sense of being lost. And it's a purging process to release all that is unhealed or unnecessary, releasing all that is in the way of our highest good. So these were the basic things about an identity, a shattered belief. And I want to emphasize again that the dark night of the soul is not a one-off experience that you have. You can have multiple dark nights of the soul. And in fact, I was learning in shamanism yesterday, reading Dr. Alberto Villoldo. He was talking about, he said the shamans see themselves as cats with 9 lives, literally. They actually believe there's at least 9 phases in our life, which we go through various metamorphoses and identity transformations if we allow ourselves. So we actually have 9 lives where we come to a death and begin anew. So generally, we go through about 9 dark nights of the souls in our lifetime, is what he was basically saying, but his mentor taught him. So I know I've had a few. I know I've been through one recently. So there's just various layers that we go through. So it's a great equalizer, and it shuts our mind really quick. What tends to happen is when life is prosperous and things are flowing a bit easier, we start to live a lot by our mind. We start to live a lot by our own understanding. We start to think we can make it all work. But the dark nights of the soul balances very quickly. So one of the reasons why, for example, Jesus taught about daily prayer and daily activation is this keeps you in a more limited, balanced state. And that means that dark nights of the soul can even hit to the point in your life where they come and go and you hardly notice you've been in it. And you might even go, oh, okay, actually, I think I have been in a dark night of the soul. But you don't even realize you've been in it because you're so balanced. Hence the criticalness to pray and to stay balanced in your soul and your life. When you're prosperous, to balance yourself out and use that time also to go through, give up where you have to, continuing to tithe, continuing to let go of things all the time. Equally, when you're in a dark time and when things seem to dry up, rather than get caught up with it, look at the other side of it. I've definitely been going through a dark night of the soul over the last little while. No question for me. But really looking back, I really didn't notice it as much because I was actually at the same time seeing the fun, having a bit of fun, enjoying life, just doing simple things and enjoying the simple things of nature. Going back to trees, sitting there with the trees, sitting with the flowers, sitting with the birds, sitting with animals, enjoying just feeling the grass with my feet, and every day being grateful for the grass and just for having really soft grass that felt so lovely on me. So all this kind of stuff starts happening when you go in this time. So it's a real process of death and it's a rebirth that we're moving into. Keep in mind that we've been talking about ascension and spiritual awakening for the earth for a long time. There cannot be awakening or resurrection before death. So that is why, yeah, these are all the things I shared last week, a total annihilation of all that you believed and thought that you were. So let's just look at, these are the scriptures I mentioned. And the 2 big things I mentioned here was dark night of the soul. You don't become a caterpillar from into a butterfly unless you struggle through the cocoon. So hence, this is why it says God will help her and at break of day. In other words, when you least expect it. One of my favorite ones on this in the whole scripture is this one here with Jacob when he prevailed with God. I can relate to this from my own life, where Jacob literally prevailed with God. He fought, he struggled, he would not let God go unless he blessed him. I love that. So many of us, that when the Holy Spirit and when the God's working with us, you feel God pull away. How many of us just start to go into grief like God has left us? How many of us instead go, no, you will not go. Do not. I will not let you go. You will not let me go until you bless me and until you release me. I can remember years ago when I was going through a real crisis in myself, where my health and life had fallen apart. And I remember hitting this point where I just said that. And I even felt these messages coming to me saying, just let go, just trust, it's going to be okay. And I actually said, no. I said, yes, I trust. I know you're going to work this out, but I'm not just going to sit here and wait, not without an assurance. You will give me an assurance. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to ask, I'm going to continue to push, I'm going to continue to pray, and I'm going to persevere, and I won't let up on you. And I said that, and I meant it with my prayer. And I said, I will get healed, and I will get healed quickly. And if I'm not going to get healed quickly, you better show me a damn good reason why. There's a purpose just for a time. And every single time when I pray with that attitude, things happen very quickly, I might add. There's actually a scripture in the book of James where it actually says in James chapter 5, he says, Elijah persevered for rain. But he said, how many of us persevere? Jesus talks about the parable of a judge who refused justice for a lady who was crying out for justice from unfairness. And the woman says, no, you are going to give me justice. I will literally live in your courtroom. I'll tie myself to your courtroom. I'll glue myself unless you give me justice. And it actually said, the judge in the end said, oh, for goodness sake, I'm sick of this stupid woman. Just give her justice so she'll leave me alone. And Jesus said, how many of us have that level of perseverance? That's why I love this scripture. Jacob was having his deepest fear, most feared moment of his life. He was about to face his brother Esau. This was his darkest night of the soul. He is coming back, and the classic stage of the hero's journey, as you'll see shortly, and he's terrified because he knows he's got to face his brother who wants to kill him. And not only does his brother want to kill him, he hears his brother has got 400 of his best soldiers and they've turned up to come and meet him. And so Jacob's in terror when this happens. So it says that a man turned up, an angel, and wrestled with him. In other words, he struggled internally. He was struggling in a spiritual warfare in a major way. And it says, but so much that Jacob refused to yield, refused to stop struggling and letting go. So in the end, you can see this, that this man, Christ, the Father, just literally wrenched his hip out of joint to stop him fighting. And even then, with his thigh out of joint, and obviously in pain and unable to keep going, he still wouldn't let go of him. And so in the end, God says to him, for goodness sake, let me go for the day breaks. It's daybreak. It's over. And he goes, no, I'm not going to end this experience, this dark night, unless you bless me, unless you give me a gift, unless you give me a boon, unless you give me something of value. And he said to him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, you shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have prevailed. So he got his blessing. And he went and saw his brother and reconciled the next day. They reconciled. His brother's heart changed towards him through that experience. He shifted his consciousness around his brother. Everything changed. So this is what's another clue for this dark night of the soul ahead. It's going to require a real breaking through in terms of a prevailing and a hanging in there and a pushing harder than you've ever pushed before in your internal walk to get to that next stage. If you're having financial challenges, you push through and say, I will not let you go unless you bless me. I can remember when I was had lost financially, I'd been virtually wiped out. And everything in me was like, what do I do now? Money's gone. This was like 10 years ago. Marriage has ended. Business has collapsed. Everyone's chasing me for money. Where next? And I can remember this actually happened to me. This was a really dark night of the soul for me, everyone. I was a mess. And I can remember going to Sydney in August 2010. And I was speaking at an event. And I remember going to the beach and I just broke. I literally did. I just bawled. And I can remember having at that moment a still small voice as the Father spoke to me directly and told me where I'd gone wrong and told me what he wanted. But he said, I'll bring you back. Because I said to him, I'm not going back to get a job. I'm not doing it. I said, I don't care if I'm on my knees crawling, but I said, I'm not doing it. I said, I'm going to make this work. But I said, you got to show me where I went wrong. And the Father listened to me and he heard my prayer and he showed me But he said it is a long way back for you, but there is a path home for you. And bit by bit, I was led through that. So the dark night of the soul and the struggles we go through is what strengthens us and tests our resolve as well. The truth is, you never know if you've got what it takes to be successful in business, as a prophet, as a teacher, unless you are so tested that everything in your life wants to give up and you just say, I'm just not giving up. Even if I die, even if I literally lose everything, I'm not giving up on this path. I'm not stopping. And that's the challenge today as well for us. Who here is so determined to be on your path, so determined to see this through, that you'll have your hip put out of joint and you'll still keep pushing? Who here is feeling stretched and challenged today? Yeah, Lexi and Sam are keen for me to. Lexi had a massive breakdown today. Oh, really? Oh, send it to us on the chat, Lexi. Interested to hear. It sounds like you are. That's exactly what you want. Breakdowns are great, by the way. Breakdowns are really good. It means you're falling apart, which, yeah, you need to. If you're gonna, you won't transform unless you literally break apart. As you can see here, Jacob was broken. He wasn't the same man as when he started this journey. He had his hip put out of joint and he had to wrestle until break of day. It's actually an amazing, it's an amazing activation, this one. I read this one and just ponder it a lot. Just imagine that you actually have the Father, having God, turn up in human form and wrestle with him, as what happened to Jacob that night. And Grace is being smashed like the potter's clay. Absolutely. That's what's happening. A smart person this time right now, I can remember the smartest thing I've prayed in years was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, when I said to the Council of Nine and to the Father, I said, I want to be under martial law, under your martial law. Because I said, if I don't come under your martial law, I know I will come under the martial law of Satan, running through governments of this earth, and I will lose my life, my freedom, and everything. So I said, I'm not in any delusions about this. I said, I'm coming under martial law. So I said, that gives you full authority to order me around, make me your bitch. I said, because I'm in a human body, which means I'm susceptible to lower nature desires. I'm susceptible to going off my path, and I'm susceptible to doing stupid things. And I think it was probably the most humble prayer I've ever prayed in my life, after living most of my life with a huge ego. And I just said, all I'm interested in doing is doing the path for which I've been sent here. I know that I'm going to get distracted very easily, because that's just what I tend to do, and I give up my power. All I'm going to ask that you kick my ass if I go off track, but please be kind to me when you do it. Just give me a gentle prod, give me a push, give me lots of support. That's all I ask. And but I said, I'm coming under martial law. And the best prayer I ever prayed. So higher councils, Father, I'm just interested in being under your authority. I do not want to be running around. I want to be bridled. I want to be yoked. I want to be disciplined, and I want to be kept in line, because how easy it is to actually do it. So yeah, Lexi, I lay down early to get my thoughts, ended up falling asleep, woke up and started crying so hard, like sobbing. Releasing something heavy, terrible, just getting on path and feeling isolated. But it slowly released, and I said to myself, that's great. Yeah, no, you just got a big layer being broken off you, because it's really weird you're saying all that, because I saw something this morning I just wasn't even thinking about much, and I was in a deep state when I was waking up, and I just got this image of you, and I just saw something around you, but something that's like some distractions that have been there, that have been like yoked around you like big shells. And yeah, so sounds like you're aware and breaking them off, which is really good, because it's going to bring out a whole new being out of you. That's all I can say. A wholly metamorphosized, a butterfly. That's the word I'm getting. So we shared this last week about suffering and why it's so necessary, and why we end up in these pits and these tombs and these dark places. And right now, to show you the benefit, I was saying to someone today when we were at local markets, The great thing about living where I live in West Australia, as many of you know, we're the most forgotten nation in Australia. They all think we're a bunch of renegade rednecks in the East Coast. No one likes us. No one takes us seriously. We're regarded as a bunch of clowns. And then I live in a suburb that hardly anyone knows about. Even the Uber drivers are always like, oh, I didn't know this existed. So I live in a forgotten suburb in a forgotten state, which most people don't take seriously, and no one really cares about us, and no one wants to know much about us. And I'm so happy that it's that way, because as you can imagine, we tend to get left alone a little bit more. So the beauty, I was actually sharing my new theory of parenting, or it's what's always been there, and I'm going to do a post about it. I said, really parenting, the best thing about parenting is when you just leave your kids alone. And the happiest time of my childhood was when I wasn't parented for 3 months because my parents went away and I was left with my grandma. And I said, kids don't need parents. Parents really are just guides. And that's all we're meant to be, just guides to help our kids come into their purpose and find their path that they've been put here. And we're just guides. We just set up rules in terms of guidelines for consequences and choices. That's it. So this is how the Father sees us as his children. We're given a lot of scope. He's there to guide us, and the masters are here to guide us, but we've got to find our path and go through our experiences. And that's where darkness comes in, because when we go off path, we will feel that darkness. When we're going through a change, we will feel it. So we're mentioning this, that without suffering, without any kind of shifts, we are very vulnerable to our lower nature. And the best way to think about it is imagine this. Imagine if you were left alone so much so that you just decided, you woke up one day and thought, you know what, I'm just going to live it up. I'm just going to go and get drunk all the time. I'm just going to go and have sex with whoever I feel like, whenever I want to, in the exact moment. I'm just going to go and, yeah, do whatever I like with money. If I rip someone off in business, yeah, it'll be fun. Let's just kind of get as fat as I feel like it and not make no attempt to look good. Yeah, whatever. Let's just kind of go and do my own thing. I'm not going to do spiritual work. I'm just going to live my life for pleasure from now on. And imagine if you did that and you got no consequences for it whatsoever in your life. That's actually, all that would mean is you'll go, oh, okay, well, it doesn't seem like I'm getting into any trouble for doing this. Cool, I'm going to keep doing more of it. And you'll keep doing more of it and keep doing more of it. And at the time of your life, and then eventually, upon death, or later on in life, as things start to, you'll suddenly start to realize that maybe you missed it. And that's why the scriptures say the greatest blessing you can actually have as a father's children is that you're quickly chastened for your karmic violations. Whereas a sign you're not the father's children is nothing actually happens to you. Life goes on as normal. That's why in Psalm 73, King David had an extraordinary revelation. So if you ever want to learn about that principle, in Psalm 73, King David had a bit of a whinge where he was pretty upset because he said, why is it that indigos and rainbow children and people like me and others go through all this shit, and as soon as we do anything wrong, we get our asses kicked, and as soon as we get off our path, shitty things happen to us and we karmically get instantly dealt with, whereas all these other people who I see, like the wicked of the earth and people who are doing awful things for humanity, they just go on, they get more prosperous, they get more richer, they get healthier. Life seems to get better and better for them. I must be missing something here. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt like that, and if you have, say yes. But King David says then he realized when he went to the sanctuary and he saw from the higher realm perspective, and he actually realized that it was actually the complete opposite to what he thought. He realized, like, oh my gosh, it's because the end of his behavior is horrific. The karmic consequences in the lower astral realms are appalling. Oh my gosh, how fortunate I am that I don't have to go through any of this because I'm being dealt with now. Like, how good is it? But the fact that you're going through all this stuff and being dealt with is a blessing. That's basically what the scriptures teach. It's what Buddha taught. Buddha taught that the root of suffering is simply because of our attachments. And if we didn't have suffering or consequences when we get caught up with the things of the earth, we would stay here. And the cycle would never end. We would stay attached to samsara. We would stay in the cycle of birth and rebirth. we would continue to come to this earth, live it, have deep regrets and mourning as we went for our life review, come back again, and it would all start again. And millions of years later, nothing would ever change. So all of us are here going through our challenges because all of us are fed up with going through the wheel of incarnation. So every single one of them, us before we came on earth, said to the Father, to the councils, and said to our higher selves, when we go off track, kick our asses. Can anyone relate to that? Who can instantly resonate with that? That we've said to our higher selves, to our original monadic soul or higher template that created our incarnation here, kick my ass when I go off track. Anyone here relate to that? Reckons they would have made that prayer? Or was it just me? Yeah, Farmida, I reckon. Sam, yep. William, yeah, yep. Lexi, I think you'll find most of us did. So it's a blessing when we go through dark nights of the soul to basically sort out stuff we're not listening. Mind you, this is why we got the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs teaches wisdom, which actually says that wisdom will save you from this path. If you actually followed the book of Proverbs and you listen to these things, you would have very minimal suffering. I noticed with actually James and Edward, two of my twins, they don't go through as much as a lot of other people, but that's because I don't think I've ever met anyone, and Grace will agree. She goes, oh, these kids annoy me. They're so, because literally they hear a message, they just obey without question. They just literally just do it. If you tell them you've got to sort this out in your life, they just sort it out in their life. It's just, they read wisdom, they learn it. They study wisdom and they learn it. You teach them higher wisdom of God's financial laws. They just said, okay, we'll obey them, and they obey them. They don't question them. William said, I get hit like 1 hour. Yeah, after it. Yep, exactly. I can relate to you, William. I get my absolute ass kicked. So I mentioned all this last week, and I wasn't planning to spend this much time on last week, but really keep in mind, we're coming in from a deeper layer on all this stuff. That about suffering, I really feel to emphasize, because if we can redefine our perspective on suffering and redefine how we see things, this will change our lives. We can live in such a balanced state. I'm actually enjoying every day living a lot more than I probably ever have before for that reason. So these are the 4 noble truths of Buddhism about what causes suffering. And suffering ceases when attachment to desire ceases. So is it possible to be free from suffering? The answer is actually yes. Revelation says that. It shows there can be no more suffering, no more sorrow, no more tears. So the only reason we continue to suffer and feel tears is when we have attachment. So when we're attached to the earth. So if you're attached to the earth and flying, for example, like many I know, they're grieving about these crazy laws on flights and about travel, and the fact it's obvious you're going to have difficulties traveling without vaccines and masks. As soon as I had my vision 2 years ago of lockdowns in airports, I gave up all my attachment to traveling. And I even just said, well, there's always a way, Father. So what is this opening up? What's the new door this is opening for me as is lost? And I've been getting visions about teleportation, about quantum travel, all kinds of stuff. All I see is this is an evolution for the indigos to get ready to teleport, to get ready to start having quantum travel. So that was, for example, how I got rid of my attachment to that. I know where I'm living in West Australia right now, we pretty much can't go in and out without being risk of being locked down anywhere. And I'm like, great, I'll just stay put. I'll astral travel more. I'll focus more on teleportation, learn how to do it. Doesn't matter. So any kind of attachment we have to desire, attachment to the way of life that we've had on earth, which we're holding on to, attachment to a partner, attachment to an individual, these are what causes suffering. So this is all about dissolving attachment and learning not to love the world. And we do that by dissolving attachment and seeing both sides of the equation. So I mentioned last week about Babaji's palace. You may remember about Buddha's 4 stages of enlightenment, which I talked about, and how as we go through each stage, they take us to a different point. So where we free ourselves from the fetters shackling us. So all the different religions and spiritual teachings give us these maps or processes to move through. So this was the Buddhism stages I mentioned last week. So Sotapanna. So it's really like 4 major rebirths that you actually experience. Or in fact, some say it's actually 8. There's 2 in each stage. So literally like being born again, moving through and letting go of the various attachments like greed, hatred, anger, attachments to ritual, sensual desires, ill will towards others people, doubt or uncertainty to your path and who you are, and things like that. And as you go through all the stages, you enter nirvana, which means you literally, duality is gone. You're no longer attached to this world, and you'll never again reincarnate on this earth or in this galaxy, because you're in this state of peace and in this state of a centered self. So this is where we're all going. And if we can become like Christ and learn to be calm in the midst of the storm, which is ahead, and we can be the calm ones, can you only imagine everyone the influence and the light we will bring to our region? Because I'm even seeing in Australia right now with astonishment, like there's been lockdowns happening all over this country in the last few weeks, as many of you know, even in Brisbane. We've done a lot of work of activating in the communities and actually clearing energies over the cities and going through different monuments and satanic altars. As Max will tell you here, he went and did them all over the Gold Coast. And Sam, of course, did some in Toowoomba. So when I first heard about the lockdown, they were talking about doing it to Toowoomba. And I thought, no, they won't do it for Toowoomba because I just can't see why they would do that. Sure enough, they didn't. We've just been noticing that wherever we've done the rituals and the activations and the clearing of attachments in the area, it definitely seems to be helping right now. So we are here to be lights to our region. Lexi, you can be a total light to your region, like literally turn Virginia into a safe haven for the people of the region. Famita, where you are in Chicago, you can turn that into a safe haven for the people there. And believe you me, in America, your work is so important right now for the 3 Americans that are here. And then we've got Famita, and then we've got Sheldon. I think you're in California, you said, Sheldon, but wherever you are, you can build a safe haven and create a sanctuary for your region energetically, a portal to protect the people. Sam, in terms of where you are in Toowoomba, Max, where you are of the Gold Coast, Steve in the Sunshine Coast, it's wonderful. William and Alex north of the river. It's just great how we've got this thing. Christine over in Albany and in Wagen. Mark, where you are north of the river. Miko down south. We're at Busselton, Margaret River. I mean, what's exciting is how well represented we are here today. We've got so many regions. Oh, sorry, Sheldon's Canada, that's right. We've got so many places actually transformed, and so many places here that we can actually help by going this path and going through this dark night of the soul. Because whether you like it or not, as a shaman, which all of you are, you're all healers, you're all indigos, you're taking on a lot of the stuff of your region and helping to shift it, not just within yourself. So that's part of your karmic agreement to enter nirvana. So now let's have a look at the hero's journey again. So who's enjoyed this to date? Like just maybe just take a quick intermission. Just maybe share in the chat your greatest lesson at the moment, like what you've learned today so far, the thing that's most jumped out at you. Just as a bit of an intermission. Max is spiritual network marketing. Yeah, exactly, Max. You're credited with the people. Like you're being, what's happening with Gold Coast Fair, the work that you're doing over there, helping those monuments, and if you help Brisbane, well, any shift that happens in the people or in the community there, because of that, you'll be credited with. Believe you me, we've all got a bit of karmic debt to fix up. Alex Soul of the 9 Lives. Yep. Mika, it was so hot praying for rain and it came down yesterday. I did attend the rally instead of meditate. Yep. Lexi, taking authority and asking for help with a shift and not backing down from adversity. The awareness of your power. Absolutely. Yep. Christine, the importance of staying focused. Network marketing is a great analogy. Sheldon, balance yourself first. Yep. For Mia, a new look on challenging situations and how to handle them. So Steve, the reminder, reinforcement about not letting go of attachments. Yep. Absolutely. Sam, reminder about taking on the karma of the region and the importance of balancing itself. It's part of the responsibilities of being a master is realizing you will feel and pick up the karma, and you can, and when you shift it in yourself, you can shift it. So yeah, it's a good time just to integrate everything at the moment. So just really ponder. Just take the next minute or so to have a sip of water, just to think about what you've seen so far, what you've learnt so far, where the journey has taken you so far. Just feeling such a wonderful presence of the councils today. Just seeing a wonderful work happening with so many people here in this webinar right now, and I'm very grateful that we're so well represented here across the world right now in 2 key countries. What I've been getting told lately is that many of the indigos and the tribes of Israel, the tribes of Jacob, are actually being put in Australia and America, and that's why America is so important to be looked after right now, and why and America needs a lot of help right now, because basically many of the tribes of Joseph and the tribes of Israel are contained in America, so that's why they especially are after America. So I'm really feeling from the councils to just say, to thank the Americans, like really thank all the Americans just for what you're doing here today and just even being here, and how important it is for all of you, especially to stay centered right now. And you all, in fact, the message I was given yesterday for myself and to everyone, I feel to share with everyone, it's important at this time you clear yourself daily. Like we all do things like auric clearings, or those of you who've done it, or energy work. But right now I've been getting told you've got to clear yourself daily, because the astral realm is so busy. There's so much negative energy going that one day of missing clearings, you will notice after a few days how you won't be centered anymore. So there's various ways we're thinking of just doing an auric clearing if you know how to do it. There's another way which I've been doing lately, and I'll do at the end and introduce you to. There's a way of using chakra clearings for a quick clearing, just to help balance yourself. So there's just little things you've got to start doing. Okay, so Yvonne's going to be coming next week. That's the exciting news for you all. So those of you who've actually heard of Yvonne, who's been helping me design the codes, she will be coming here next week and doing this webinar with Grace and I. So I'm extremely excited about that. And just to share the incredibleness of this, she actually told me, without me telling her anything what we spoke on last week, we were talking this week with some new codes that she's given me, much higher level activations. And she started talking to me about the hero's journey and was said to talk to me about it and do some activations for me around that. And I just burst out laughing. She goes, "What's so funny?" And I told her, and she goes, "That's incredible." So she's going to be working with me next week as a part 3 to this, to actually activate the hero's journey energetically into all of you to help you move through it faster. That's the message she was actually given. So the hero's journey, I'm just going to look at this a little bit more as to what this actually means in depth. So there's 3 main stages of the hero's journey, okay? And today, last week we looked at 12 stages, but that was de Vogel's model. But we're going to go through the original one today, Joseph Campbell's 17 stages. So separation, the call. So this is where the hero is called out to be separated from his peers or her peers, the world. So generally the hero receives the call and usually refuses and resists it, but eventually heeds the call. Who here can remember when they got their call to be separated? Like, you can pretty much name it. I know for me when it was for me. I was pretty young. And by the way, you can do quite a few hero's journeys in your life. You can be led on a few of them. You can go through one and then you go through another one later on for your next level. But can anyone here remember that moment when you were called and when you were separated out? Yeah, Lexi remembers the past 2 times. Yeah, I remember when you told me when you were 22, Lexi, that was quite profound how it happened with you. Steve always felt kind of different, separated. Yeah, but there's a moment of call, Steve, a moment when you actually feel the call, like, especially in your case, when you would have felt the call away from being the copywriting Steve and going on a spiritual path. And you just knew, and you took a whole new big step. I've had a few different hero's journeys in my times, I will say. I went through one to get in the business. I went through one to get away from my family. I definitely went on that journey about 3 years ago on a whole new level when I was called into that spiritual teaching path. So Sam, I remember I was very young. Christine, remember, left the Catholic Church. She got Famida. Yep, Christine didn't realise it, but looking back, it's obvious. Yep. So there's a moment of call, the moment when you're actually called out. There's a very good example in the Bible of Abraham, who was called away from his family, from his country people, from his culture, from everything, and was called. I'll be covering, and he receives a call. Frequently, you resist the call through fear and through not feeling adequate, not feeling worthy enough. So Steve, yeah, it's obvious in hindsight, yeah. So eventually they receive the call. The second stage is the supreme ordeal. That's what's called the time of testing, to actually go through it, eventually leading to a dark night of the soul. And then eventually the unification, initiation, or return, when the hero triumphs and comes back as a triumphant hero with the elixir of power, gifts, and boons to bestow upon humanity. So in other words, they come with a gift. So the purpose of the hero's journey, in simple terms, is you go out as one in one stature or way of being, and you come back in a new way of being with a new gift, a new skill, a new supernatural power that you can give to humanity. Jesus, for example, you can even see in the Bible when he went through the hero's journey, when he actually went into the wilderness for 40 days and went through severe ordeals and came out baptized and came out in power and came out with miracles and supernatural power and started to serve humanity with his gifts. So Max, a major out-of-body experience at 19, which broke my reality map, put it a self-healing journey. Yeah, Grace, for 21, showed the blood will be on my head. Yep. Okay, yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. Yeah. And then the final one is coming back. So this was the one we went through last week, which was the Vogler version. That was 12 ones. I actually went back to the original Joseph Campbell one in 1949. And I actually have to say, I thought that was probably the best from what I could see. And he puts it into 17 different stages. So there's 5 stages of the call. There's basically 6 stages of the supreme ordeal or initiation, and there's 7 stages of the return or coming home or a unification. So that's basically what Campbell did. So let's just actually go through the hero's journey and look at each stage. So the prelude before it all starts, the way to think of the hero's journey and for Earth, but also for us right now as individuals, is where you're basically in a certain way of being. So as an example, Steve was a copywriter. I was an accountant, lawyer, running a financial work, doing something like that. And just living in a normal world, you're living in a normal way of identity, a normal way of being, but there's a dissatisfaction in you. There's a knowing that something's just not quite right in your life. You feel something's missing, or you feel that you're just not complete. You're just like, no, this is not why I'm here. I'm not, what I'm doing here is inadequate, it's dissatisfying to me. We can see that in a number of Bible scriptures. In Song of Solomon, if you ever want to read a Bible hero's journey from beginning to end, read the book of Song of Solomon. It's an 8-chapter book, which literally walks through the hero's journey almost exactly when you read that book. So the whole story of Song of Solomon is about a bride or a girl called a Shunammite and her lover, who she was deeply in love with, her beloved, and how the Shunammite had to go through a whole hero's journey to be worthy of her beloved. Hannah Hurnard wrote a book called Hinds Feet in High Places that virtually replicated Song of Solomon and the hero's journey. So it's basically about a girl proving herself worthy of her beloved. And because she really did want to be with this man, but he was a pure soul. And how she starts off in the first book saying, you know, I'm dark, I'm wounded, but I'm comely. I've been hurt. I have many wounds in my heart. I have a broken soul. I'm damaged. And you can read that in the first chapter. I'm deeply damaged. She said, I'm black but comely. Look not upon me. And she even said, my brothers made me keepers of the vineyard. In other words, my family have despised me. I've been enslaved by people around me. I've been basically bossed around, mistreated, badly wounded, had my trust broken many times by men, my trust broken many times in business. I've had my dreams broken and shattered many times. And that's what she says. But she said, but in spite of all that, do not ignore me, my beloved. Do not leave me alone. Here, you know, my heart is open to you. Allow me into your chamber. Bear with my weaknesses. Bear with who I am, because I'm willing to walk through this path and heal all of this. And that's what she said, with a softness. It's a beautiful scripture. And in fact, we might just quickly go there, because it's such my sense as to where we're at with this. And even if we don't get through all the stages today, that's okay. I'm just feel to actually take this with a little bit of love and care today. So it's a beautiful book, Song of Solomon. It's quite an incredible book, and I've been getting some real messages from this one, activations. There's an incredible one towards the end of it where the hero's journey is coming to an end for her, where she comes out literally as a master of the spirit realm and the realm of matter. So she says here, I am black but comely as the tents of Kedar. And when you read Psalm 120, Kedar was associated with a lot of war, hostility, hurtful words, a culture of very violent people in thoughts, in words, and in language. So some of you, I'm sure, can resonate with that. In a culture of very dark, very hostile people in their hearts, people who aren't soft, who aren't the pure Pleiadian energy, the indigo energy that just wants to heal, just wants to love, and is in shock with the hostility and the violence of the heart. And she says humbly, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. This is not talking about race and color, to be clear. This is like, because I've been burnt. In other words, I've been hurt. I've been wounded. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. And that is my sense for some of you today. You've looked after everyone else's vineyard. You've taken care of everyone else's needs around you, but your own vineyard you have not kept. You haven't taken care of your own heart. You haven't nurtured your soul. Yes, you've been running around helping everyone else grow their business. You've been running around helping everyone else heal, but your own heart you haven't healed. You haven't helped others with business. You haven't helped them. You haven't helped build your own dreams. You haven't built your own purpose. You haven't built the soul's dream that drives in you in your heart and that makes you want to live. And I have such a good rule of thumb because I could so relate to that, you know. Lexi and Grace can really relate to this. They're saying, yeah, I really realize what I ask myself now is, do I feel happy today? And if I don't feel happy today, I know it's because I'm starting to build someone else's vineyard. I'm becoming the keeper of the vineyard again. I'm living by expectation. Every now and again, I can feel that what I call imposed responsibility. Subconsciously, I start to feel upon myself, but I feel responsible for my kids, feel responsible for everyone else around me. But yet I always remind myself, am I keeping my own vineyard? Am I taking care of my own soul? Am I really looking after my vineyard? Am I going out and sitting on the beach? Am I going and sitting out on the green grass? Am I doing what my heart wants to do, not what other people want from me? Am I treating everyone else nicely because I don't want to upset people, but pissing myself off every day, leaving my old soul damaged, wounded, smashed because I've refused to listen to my own needs? So that's what this one is about in the hero's journey. Look not upon me because I am black. In other words, don't look upon me because I am burnt. Some of you who are even women here, the feminine, that's what your heart is crying out. Don't look upon me because I'm hurt. Don't look upon me because I'm smashed. In other words, don't see me like that. Don't see me like that. That's not who I really am. This has just happened because I'm here. Don't see me like that. My own vineyard I have not kept. But then she says, tell me, oh, you whom my soul loves, where you feed. Where do you make your flocks to rest at noon? For why should I be as one that turns aside by the flock of your companions? In other words, why should I be left alone? Why should I be cast aside again? In other words, I am just simply desiring now to be with the shepherd. I'm desiring to open my heart. I'm desiring to flower. I'm desiring to go on a journey with you. I'm desiring to keep my own vineyard. And that's the message I'm really getting for people today. This is a time to keep your own vineyard. You cannot keep anyone else's vineyard until you're keeping your own vineyard, keeping your own heart, taking care of your own needs, your own business, your own dreams. If you're building someone else's dream but not your own, I will tell you now, when I'm teaching spiritual truths like this, and when I'm doing the works of Enoch, and when I'm studying about teleportation, and when I'm doing that stuff, I feel alive. Everything in me feels like I'm living. I'm like, yep, this is what I'm here to do. I just start to cry. And that's always a sign when you know you're in your purpose, because you start to cry. You say, no, this is what I want to do. This is all I'm interested in doing. You just say nothing else matters. And that's the words that always come out from me when I teach spiritual truths to people. And when I move in the prophetic, I'm like, no, this is what I'm here to do. Everything else fits into this. Yes, I'm running a wealth club as well, Global Wealth Club of Grace. But yes, that's because that also fits in with this, because part of keeping my vineyard and nurturing that and nurturing people with spiritual truth is to nurture people who learn financial truths to navigate the day ahead, because otherwise that will be a hindrance. So now there's a purpose and reason for running a wealth club, because it fits in with spiritual teaching to help nurture people through this time and to step into ascension, because it's important to take care of responsibilities and duties and financial. It's the same with taxes. That's why, so anything that you're doing, then you start to ask, does it align with my mission statement? Am I keeping my own vineyard? That's the whole message here today. So this is a call for the heart. So this is where in the hero's journey, you're starting in that place where you're not keeping your own vineyard, and where you're making a decision to say, I'm keeping my own vineyard. Who today knows that they haven't really taken care of their own vineyard, their own heart, and can relate to this? Can relate to this Shunammite? My feeling is this is hitting home. Yeah, the thoughts hitting home in the heart. Yeah, this is going to be very healing for some of you today, as you see this. That's what happens when you're an indigo taking care of everyone else. Yeah, Sam is turning the corner. Yeah. It's a time. So this is where our humanity comes forth, our weakness, our brokenness. Abraham was called. Moses was called as well on a hero's journey. He was called to get away. He was living in a prosperous palace. He had favor in Egypt. He was looked after by Pharaoh. All of the people of God were suffering in Egypt severely. But yet Moses saw that was happening. And Moses said in his heart, you know what? I can't do that. And that is why Hebrews 11 says of Moses, it's one of the greatest walks of faith, because Moses was living in luxury in that palace, living in luxury, living in absolute abundance. And it says here in verse 24, but by faith, Moses refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose, which means he was prosperous. He was very blessed. He chose rather to suffer affliction, go on a hero's journey with the people of God, than to enjoy the karmic pleasures of karmic sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than all the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the reward of the hero's journey. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing Pharaoh's wrath, because he endured as seeing him as invisible. I mean, that's inspiring. And verse 23, by Moses, when he was born, by faith, was hidden by his parents because they were not afraid of the king's commandment. You can see this here, that Moses basically chose to go on that hero's journey, for many reasons. Abraham was the other example I've given you here. It says in verse 8 of chapter 11, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing where he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles. In other words, he was, and just so you know the history of this guy Abraham, he actually was living in the Ur of the Chaldeans. It was a prosperous region. It was actually, he had a lot of comforts. He had all the normal life. And it says in Genesis 12 that Abraham was called out, and I'll take you to that one shortly. But why did he do it? It says, for he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God. In other words, Abraham did not look at the things of the earth. He did not look at the pleasures and attachments of the earth, but he wanted to be part of a higher city, a city of Enoch, a city of Zion, an ascended city that had foundations, that opened portals. Because one thing I'm telling you in the days ahead, as we see what comes out upon the earth, there are going to be portal realms and dimension sanctuaries opened up. That's what I was told the last few days. So there's going to be places where so bad it will get upon parts of the earth, the only protection you will have is to walk into those sanctuary portals. And in those portals, you won't be able to be touched. You'll be like literally in another earth while everyone else is living on a different earth. I know what it's like because I've been living in that in the last little while. I was revealed that yesterday. I was shown a vision because I've literally felt like I haven't even been on this earth for weeks now. And I've been living in a different realm. And I was shown that. That's because I'm learning how to build these portals and to work with people to build these. In other words, to start to build the cities of Zion and Enoch upon earth and heaven, to bring heaven to earth, as Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven, which is within us. But he says, pray, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So these sanctuary portals and cities are going to be essential for what's coming up ahead in the coming days. So you can see this here. Abraham, it says by faith he was called to go out and leave everything he was doing, and he had no idea where he was going. He had to go entirely by faith. And why? Because he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builders and maker is God. And you can see this also when you go and you can see the call of Abraham in Genesis 12. It says, the Lord had told Abraham, get out of your country, from your kindred and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse him that curses you, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. I mean, that's like an amazing promise. And Abraham, it says, he went out, and everything that God promised him happened. The whole earth got blessed through him. Families were blessed. his name became great and still known to this day, and thousands of years later is taught on webinars like we're doing today. All because he was told to leave your country, leave your culture. Kindred means your culture, your father's house. In other words, leave your family's life, your way of life, the culture of your country, the culture of your people, the culture of your family, unto a new, higher spiritual dimension land and a new way of thinking that I will show you. You can see this also in Psalm 45. And he says here in verse 10, hearken, listen, daughter, and consider your ear. Forget your own people and your father's house. So shall the king greatly desire your beauty, for he is your Lord, worship him. So this is a call today. This is what's happening right now. There's a real call that's happening with his hero's journey, and to step in with the dark night of the soul and to walk in there and start to prepare yourself for ascension. That's what I'm getting. Because the promise was the king will desire your beauty. He is your Lord, worship him. It's an amazing scripture. In Psalm 48, we also see this when we talk about the cities. When he says, great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God. The beautiful situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. That's what we're part of now. We're part of a new Jerusalem, a new Zion, a new city, new dimensional portals that literally are, not only are we part of them, but we're here to bring them to earth. We're here to actually activate these all across the earth. That's why City Awakening. That's what I was told today. I was told yesterday, actually, Warren, you thought City Awakening was to awaken the physical cities of the earth. Yes, that will happen in some form, but the real reason for City Awakening was to actually bring in the new cities upon the whole earth, awaken the new cities and bring in the new cities upon the earth. And as you awaken the new heavenly cities, the Zion city, the city of Enoch, and bring them into the earth, that will awaken the cities of earth. Grace, I don't think I've told you that one, but I was told that 24 hours ago. This whole movement is an awakening of these new cities. So feel into it, everyone. This is a call. This is a real call for everyone right now. This is a real call to get ready to enter these new sanctuary cities and to build them. And look what happens when you do it. I just love these activations. Yeah, Sam can feel it. And those of you who are sensitive, you'll feel them. In fact, if you open your eyes, some of you will see the cities. You'll actually see it. You will see it right now. You will see the lights. You'll see the quantum technology. You'll see the bright lights. Some of you who can see energy can clear, you'll see it. It's here right now. We're here. It's actually enveloping right now. The new Jerusalem, the new heaven, the new earth. Yeah, it's very bright, Grace, isn't it? That's why it says that the nations of, that's why Revelation says the nations of them that are saved will walk in the light of the city. Sparkling with crystals, yeah. And grids everywhere. Can you see the grids? Yeah, it's making me cry. Same here. I'm crying too. You see the grids? Can you see the technology of it? It's like these beacons, radiant centers. Energy crystal, yeah. Lemurian, Atlantean crystals, higher crystals, sapphires, emeralds, crystallites from everywhere. That's what's being built here. Activating new city. Yeah, clothed in glory, in light. To bring these cities to earth, to those who wish to enter. But it says in Revelation that nothing unclean karmically will enter these cities, nothing. So anyone whose karma is not clean will not enter these cities. Yes, transcendent bodies, Grace, clothed in glory. It's like it says in Corinthians, we'll be changed in an instant, just like that. It says in Corinthians 15, 1 Corinthians 15, just like that, in the twinkling of an eye, we will change. We will move into celestial body, into light body. We'll connect with our oversouls. We'll connect straight into our Christed bodies, our celestial bodies, and yes, we'll communicate telepathically. There won't need to be any internet in this city. There's no internet because the internet is quantum. It's the realm of thought, exactly. That's why planes are being locked down. That's why, for us, that's why all this is happening. This is why internet's being censored more. It's getting us ready for a new internet, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. Who's seeing the higher perspective now? Who can see it with us? Yes, there's a new healing, new Lemurian crystal healing. There's even healing waters. I'm seeing them. There's new healing waters, new crystal healings, places you can go, springs, and get instantly healed whenever you want to. Crystal ocean. Yeah, for me to seize it. Sam is seeing it. Yes, the River Jordan, crossing the Jordan. It talks about in scripture. We'll be covering that. This is going to be a powerful time, everyone. These days, even as I'm speaking, you probably notice I'm preparing messages, but I've just been led by the Spirit like in a river and just follow what I'm being told now. And I'm being told that this hero's journey, I was going to go through it all today. I was told, no, take this step by step. This is a whole activation journey over the next few months for what we're doing is what I'm being told. This is going to be life-changing. And look what it says here. For the kings assembled, they passed by it together. They saw it and they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them and pains of woe and travail. In other words, the kings of the earth, the governments of the earth, the politicians of the earth will not stand against these higher cities. They will run from them. They'll want to bring truces with them. They'll want to work with them. So this is the whole ordinary world and getting ready for the hero's journey, is that the hero is shown things that are to come. So whenever you read it like Moses saw the vision. He was given a vision of a new life, of a change. He was given a vision to free his people from slavery, from Egypt. Abraham was given a vision of a whole teaching center and a new I am that would literally change the whole earth and spread and create a whole new covenant people. In Song of Songs, a Shunammite saw herself walking a deeper journey with her beloved and opening her heart to love and experiencing real love and intimate love rather than being in a wounded place constantly where her own vineyard was not being kept and everyone else's vineyard was being looked after. So that was the whole nature of that one. And it's 12:12 as I'm saying this now. So let's just look today before we end and start doing activation. I'm going to just cover the first thing, which is a call to adventure, seeing as they all do interrelate. So as you know here, I mentioned here that the 17 stages of Campbell is this. It's the call to adventure, is a departure, refusing the call, supernatural aid, the crossing of the threshold. So we go through various stages. So today, let's have a look at the call to adventure to finish off. Who can really feel all this and feel the beauty of the call happening and all the things that are happening right now? Like really relate to this, can feel what's being built here. So this is yes, quite a few. This is so much where we're at right now, everyone. What I want you to really think about today as we're doing this is how this call to adventure applies to you right now. Some of you, it could just simply be you're seeing what's going on the planet and you're like, I'm going to do something about this. I don't know what. All I know is that what I've been doing to date isn't enough. I'm going to do something for the peace of our community. I'm going to do something for the peace of our world. I'm going to do something to have a life purpose that's going to make a difference. It's going to be something that scares me. It's a call to the unknown. It's stepping into a way of being and a way of life which is nothing like I've ever known before. But I can feel the call. I can really feel the call. And I'm scared, but I'm willing to listen to the call today. And I want a call today. That's what this is doing. So the call to adventure, and this can be different things. It can be for some of you, like I know Lexi right now with all the changes, it could just be a call to really step into that mission statement, you know, Lexi, which you showed me that was so brilliant, and just going, you know what, from this day forward, I'll live that mission statement. And you feel the call to live by your mission statement. and anything that's not in line with that mission, even though it scares the fuck out of me, I'm going to be willing to let them go to keep my own vineyard. Grace, in a fast track roller coaster, yep. For some of you, it may just be, you know what, I've just got to step a little bit further and start that business that I know I'm meant to do and grow that business. And even though it scares me, I'm going to trust myself and grow this business. And that's what I feel. That's for a couple of the men here today. It's just like, it's scaring you, like Steve Plummer. I know you're very scared, but you'll definitely had this call. And I know that it's very much in the unknown for you. It's what I'm seeing. This year is going to bring a lot of unknowns for you because you're being called very strongly right now. And it scares the crap out of you, but I know you can feel the call. And it's to go into a place to make a difference that's nothing like you've been before. So yes, you're getting called. Others of you are getting strongly called too, to go to that next stage. Some of you, it's just simply a call in the heart. Some of you, you're overall on the right track in your life, but your heart's been a bit shut. And so you're being called to open your heart more and step into a higher intimacy and trust than you've ever had before. With people, with the Father, with God, masculine, feminine, all that. So you're really being called right now to open your heart more and really just be in your heart. Because some of you, if for example, hypothetically, you're desiring a soulmate or just a partner in your life, or to be in partnership with people in a new way of being, well, unless you're willing to change and open your heart to a deeper layer within yourself, where you're comfortable being open, but strong enough to trust that you can protect your heart when needed, you're never going to really be able to open up to the kind of connection that you want. That could be your hero's journey right now, to open your heart more to feel the pain of humanity for some others. You might have a good partnership in your life, but you really know you're being called to feel the pain of humanity more. I know for me, that's been the scary thing for me, to really take on the responsibility of this work. My call has been to responsibility as a spiritual teacher and as a prophet. And this week, I've got a really big, gentle prod when it showed up in energy healing that I was still timid in being a spiritual teacher, which at first surprised me. And I thought, no, I'm actually being timid. I'm holding back. And I've got a big responsibility, and I've been justifying it to myself. But I remember the Council of Nine actually told me that you have a very big responsibility, because what we've given you is the responsibility to set these works up that are going to go worldwide and cover every aspect and bring a whole new breed of spirituality to the earth, as well as a wealth center. It's a huge responsibility. And for me, my hero's journey is trusting myself to carry a very heavy burden of responsibility and find it light, because I've always been afraid of responsibility. That's been my fear. And Grace, I've always been the kind of guy that likes to be barefoot, walking on the beach, living a simple life with very limited, minimal responsibility. Responsibility has scared me. I've been afraid I would fail. I've been afraid that if I do it, it'll burn me out. It will actually cause me it'll affect my health, my life, and burn me out. So my hero's journey has been to step into this unknown and trust that I can do this and be taken care of. So it's being a bit raw of everyone to see that all of us have our own little hero's journey. So I'm learning to trust that being a spiritual teacher means trust taking on the responsibility, taking on the yoke, so to speak, and the responsibility of what I'm called to actually do, and trusting that I'm taken care of and that I can handle this level of it because I'm in my purpose and in my path. So, Steve, that resonates. Yep. It's scary, isn't it, Steve? Because you start to realize that once upon a time you had a responsibility as a father. Now you start to realize that you're having a responsibility to be a father for a group of people, or a father for a nation, or a father for a planet even. And that's where I'm feeling right now. There's a responsibility of parenthood right now, which has come into my life for this planet. I'm actually seeing now, even right as a symbol for me, that's why I've been forced to wear shoes lately, because my feet have had some injuries that have been slow to heal. But in a weird way, the shoes I'm realizing now have represented a lot to me. They've been, the barefoot kind of tells to the world, I don't have any responsibility, I'm not encumbered. But wearing the shoes is now actually telling me, it's kind of a way of being grounded. It's like a new way of being. It's like a new way of connecting and actually having responsibility, and sometimes having shackles upon me that I don't particularly like, but shackles that are actually going to help humanity and help others. So that's what the call to adventure is. So it's terrifying, Steve. Yes, I can imagine it's terrifying. But that's what the call to adventure is. So it's actually that call to leave. So I wasn't going to cover this yet, but I'll just touch on the refusal to the call before we do the activation. So I'm just going to touch on this before we end. It's 12:21. Wow, ascension again. Because often when the call comes, the hero refuses it because of fears. Now, you might refuse it openly. The more honest ones of us just say straight out. One thing I liked about Grace, for example, is Grace was very open about it. When I first knew Grace, she used to openly say, I know I'm called to be a prophet, but I refuse to do it because I'm terrified of the responsibility. And if I do this responsibility, I'm going to be accountable for all the people that basically I could have helped. So it's easier for me not to do it in the first place, then I won't be accountable because if I become a prophet. And that was her reasoning. So she just pretty much said, no, I'm not doing it. Plus she said, plus I'm terrified of the dark. I don't want to see demons and spirits. So that's what I call an open refusal of the call. You just straight out say, no, I'm not doing it. At first I wasn't quite so open, but then eventually I was that open, like, no, I'm not going to do this. It's like, it's stupid. I mean, people wouldn't listen to me as a spiritual teacher. I mean, they know me. I'm just some accountant, financial guy. Why would anyone listen to me anyway? So I had all these excuses. So the other way is just what I call a passive one, which is in a way a lot more annoying for the father and for the masters. And that's the people who say yes in their words, but their action says no. So that's something for you to think about today. If you've refused the call by your actions, in other words, you're saying it, but you're not living your life in alignment with what you say the call is, the truth is you have refused the call. If your actions do not align up with what you say your mission is and what you're here to do and what you know you're meant to be doing right now, it means that by your actions you have refused the call. Now, that's pretty hard, I know. And that's a bit of an ass kicking for some of you, but this is the refusal of the call means that at the very least, what I feel to tell everyone to be at today is at least be honest with yourself. Be very honest with yourself exactly where you're at right now with your call. So be honest with yourself that you are in alignment with that if you're refusing the call. Because some of you have refused the call, but not openly. In other words, you have refused the call by your actions, or you just refused it. And that's a normal part of the hero's journey. So it's not beating yourself up either. The truth is, part of the journey is you refuse the call because it's so uncomfortable. So, but here's the one that Campbell says that some of you are going to chuckle at, and I certainly can. Campbell says refusal of the summons to the call converts the adventure into a negative. Walled in boredom, hard work, or culture, the subject loses the power of significant affirmative action and becomes a victim to be saved. Or in fact, he also mentions that when the hero refuses the call, he will gradually fall apart and disintegrate until he takes up the quest and returns to his path. When I first turned down my call, financially, I fell apart in an absolute hole and all my investments collapsed miraculously in anything I was in years ago. It was like phenomenal. I remember the other time I refused the call, I just got very sick and the sickness did not leave until I got back to the call. Another time when I was refusing the call and going off track, my relationships broke down. I got financially into strife, everything broke down and got into an absolute mess. So refusal of the call, you will know when you're refusing it because your life just stops working. So if your life is not working at some level now, for example, and you can see that financially it's just not working, or if in some way your relationship life is just not working, or if in some respect your friendship life is just not working with people, or your health is just not fixing up, know that most likely at some level you're refusing the call and holding back from living your truth. So that's the summary, really, I feel, of where to take it today. So we're going to go and do a code activation now for people and really activate what we've done today. But what I'm going to do is open it up for you either by text chat or taking the mic, whatever you feel to, just to share your greatest lesson today or just the biggest observation, and really reflecting for yourself what it is, where you're at. In other words, do you know what you're called to do? Can you feel you're called to the hero's journey? And where are you at right now? And what's your greatest lesson and takeaway to move forward with into this new year after today? That's what I'm willing to bring up. Now, you can think about it and write it in the text chat, or you can actually write about it, or you can take the mic if that's easier for you. So just to share that, Steve, tending own vineyard, fear of responsibility, ignoring the call were my big three. Yeah, that's good, Steve. That's really good. In fact, I like that. That's kind of good for everyone. Tending my own vineyard, number one. Two, not everyone else's. Fear of responsibility and taking it on, number two. Number three, ignoring the call. Yeah, that's good, Steve. What about everyone else? Lexi, similar to Steve, tending own vineyard, fear of responsibility, ignoring higher guidance. Yeah, I agree, Lexi. No, it's good. I had a feeling what Steve said would resonate with quite a few people. I mean, if you're not sure what yours are, but Steve's resonated with you, that's fine too. I mean, Steve is the wordsmith of the group, so. Yeah, Grace. Tending my own vineyard, yep. For me to becoming more aware of attachments, need to tend my own vineyard, yep. Alex, keep softening my heart. Keeping centered in tough times, entering our secret place and sanctuary. Grace, of all my activities, I forget me. Yep, so important to do that. Sam, tending my own vineyard. Big call to let some things go, break down faster to be more prepared. This is great. Anyone else before we go through and start activating? This is a great code to start you off. This is the 2033 Ascended Ascension code to break down lower densities to prepare you for the hero's journey for the next years ahead. Anyone else? Christine resonated with Steve. Feeling my own pain before I can feel the pain of humanity. Really felt that when you talked about it. Yeah, I agree, Christine. Exactly. Feeling our own pain is very difficult. In fact, one of the things that, and I'm not saying, obviously, talking about your situation when I'm saying this, I'm just saying generally, but like, as an example, let's just say that you go through any kind of like bad experience, whether it's like abuse of some kind in a relationship, and obviously I know you and Bernie got on fine, so that's why I want to emphasize, but let's say you go through any kind of abuse or any kind of sexual abuse or kind of any kind of severe traumatic event, what we tend to do is we disassociate. And psychologists have found that. And there was a famous movie called Sybil, all about a girl who had quite a traumatic childhood with her mother. I don't know if any one of you saw Sybil, but she actually became a schizophrenic and split off into multiple personalities to actually cope with what happened. So it's actually, so part of the journey home for you is when you've been through some really severe traumatic experience is coming home to feel those experiences and work through them all. I've got my own little hero's journey right now with my parents right now. I'm realizing that I'm really reconnecting with my childhood in the last few weeks and the truth of it rather than the truth as I wanted to believe it. I've coated my childhood up a little bit rather than face the truth how I really felt about it, about the fact that the happiest times was when I wasn't parented, the fact about how I really felt about the way I was parented and towards my parents. And so this week I was given a message about a reconciliation that's happening within me. So yeah, disassociation. Yeah, not connecting with pain, someone else. Sheldon resonates with Famida. Yeah. So it's very true. I have noticed that with my mum, especially realizing how deeply I feel about certain things growing up and how much it's what I mean, I'm actually okay with the whole thing, but it's a deeper layer now of actually hitting my real truthfulness of the whole thing and the pain of what I felt with the whole experience and how it caused me to build in my response neural network programs to the feminine and respond generally to authority, generally just because of the breakdown of that whole trust between parent and child with me and how I really felt about that whole thing. And it hasn't been fun as I've been noticing that. I've had to really connect with it fully. And connecting with it fully, I will say, has been much harder than I thought it would be. I've tried everything to distract myself from it, ranging from disassociating to watching sport for quite a lot, to masturbating a lot, to basically eating some foods as a bit of a distraction, all the normal kind of stuff. And eventually it just keeps coming back. So at the moment, I'm just facing it and really owning it. And interestingly, as I'm doing that, I'm seeing some deep shifts starting to happen in me. So Sam, feels your pain. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's but the good thing is I'm feeling it, Sam. I'm noticing it's like just by being able to name it. This is a really important key, but DeMartini taught, as well as psychotherapists, when you can name it comfortably, you don't really feel it as much because you're owning it. The reason we feel the pain is we repress the energy. Whereas when I can openly say, yeah, I didn't like my childhood. I didn't like the way my mum spoke to me. In fact, I had a severe dislike of her and I felt guilty about that level of dislike that I actually had for her, but I just disliked her. I still don't really like her much as a person. And I don't like her one little bit. I don't like the way she treats my father. I don't like the way she still tries to treat me and do things like that. And I'm not interested in it anymore. And ironically, now that I've hit that point, and I felt that for the last few weeks, the last 2 days, I'm at this point was like, okay, now I'm actually ready to reconcile all this on some level and find some way to actually reconcile all this and honor the second commandment about honoring my parents and finding a way to do that while being comfortable within my own truth. So I felt to share that because I feel this is going to resonate with some of you. Some of you are going through all this kind of stuff, and any shadow that you've got right now, this is going to be the time to deal with it. Has anyone here watched the movie The Dawn Treader, about Narnia, the Dawn Treader, or read the book by C.S. Lewis, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader? Steve can relate. Anyone seen the Dawn Treader? I know Grace has. I don't know if anyone else has. Sheldon's seen it? Yeah. In that scene of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, C.S. Lewis, by the way, if you ever want to read amazing books that showed a very enlightened man, the 7 fictional Narnia series are all based on higher truths. And let's just say this guy knew a lot. That's all I can say. But in the 5th book, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the book is about a journey that was taken to go into all these different realms to reclaim these 7 lost lords. And one of the places that they actually went to was an island, where the island was basically so dark and so trapped in negative energy that they were warned that anything that you imagine will happen instantly, any of your fears. So if you have an instant fear about something happening to you, it'll happen instantly. So in one scene in that, the guy started thinking about the Wicked Witch and how she turned into a serpent. Straight away, a serpent manifested and started attacking their boat. And so in these times to come, as the karma hits upon the earth, we're going to see more of our fears manifest quicker. So this is why we're being led on this journey right now to shift our shadows at this time. So I'm just going to ask everyone now to focus on the code and really breathe this code into your third eye. So just breathe it in through the nose for 4. Hold for 4. And breathe out of your mouth for 8. And just keep your focus right on the center of that code. Breathe it in for 4. Hold for 3. And actually out of your mouth for 6. Wow, this is patterning. I'm just seeing a picture of patterns going over people's third eye, and this is like activating your 5th and 6th chakras, especially, is what I'm seeing. This is activating 5th and 6th chakras right now, if you feel it. For some reason, they want to activate them heavily today. So activating the 5th and the 6th chakra using this 2033 Ascended Ascension code of Enoch, and commanding that all lower densities, lower frequencies, lower energies, any energies of any kind, any thoughts, any description whatsoever, whether they be its occupants, demons, negative energies, entities, corporations, disembodied beings of any kind, disembodied entities, in each and everyone's 5th and 6th chakras, and anything else within the rest of their chakras that's relevant at this time, and clear all these chakras now. Clearing all attachments, cutting them out like a razor. And I just see those little wheels of those black squiggly lines, just like little laser, like razor wheels, like an electric razor going around. It's just cutting them out now. That's what I'm seeing. It's just cutting out layers and shapes and shadows in people's body that's in the way. And also opening up portals in each people just to see into higher realms and get a clearer vision and perspective. Activate each people with new codes, new templates, new energies, new crystals, new bulbs, to awaken consciousness in the 5th and 6th chakras on all levels, in all layers, celestial, terrestrial, mental, spiritual, mind, etheric, soul, emotional body now. There's a lot clearing out here right now. Clearing out all discarnates, providing higher order, third order escorts and other beings to take any escorts or any discarnates or disembodied entities just to realms justly earned. Release each one from attachments in their third eye, which limiting their scope of peripheral vision and higher perception to see the workings of the Holy Spirit in all angles, all areas, and all features of their lives. Increase and bring greater powers. Yeah, it's in pyramid shapes, Grace, yeah. Activating the capstone of the pyramids in each and every people here right now. Calling in the wisdom and high knowledge from the halls of Amenti and asking them just to awaken through the blue flame, clear out old portals, old energies, old densities, old energies, and let them burn away with the blue flame but no longer serve. And burn them away with the blue flame. I'm just seeing a blue flame, which is very powerful, going around and just burning up old densities, old energies, old frequencies. And white light, yes. Oh, that's better. Creating a white light crystal portal and pyramids over each and every one, just seeing pyramids over each and every one and crystals all around each and everyone's light body and covering each people. And releasing all the energies and frequency and entwinings of lower densities now. Yeah, I agree, William. William's saying there's past life and ancestral karma coming up. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up. I'm just seeing it like stuff coming out of graves, William. Yeah, it's some heavy negative energies coming up right now. Okay, so just keep your focus on it. Just get a sense. I'm just seeing all kinds of old entities and old energies coming up right now. And just allow them all to come up. I'm even getting the word ghouls, spirits, demons, ghosts. Murders of souls. Allowing this code and the higher pyramidal energies and capstones from Arcturus and from higher dimensions and higher meridians. Let them, I just command that these be used, these higher crystals and higher energies and higher templates and higher frequencies, and use the razor cutting wheels within the middle just to go through now and start to release karma, ancestral lifetimes and all levels and all dimensions in all realms now. I just see a key coming in to unlock each and everyone's hearts, to release and just open up their hearts and release these old shadows of pain, anguish, and anger, which go back through many generations, many years, many eons, many lifetimes. Wow, and I'm just seeing them going through, just opening up like a lock and key, and you're opening it up and just releasing all the souls. Just releasing any souls within here or discarnates of any kind whatsoever that are trapped here. I mean, trapped because of all of these karma. Opening up a portal and asking the third order escorts to take them and lead them to life reviews and open the gates for forgiveness and cleansing and release to go back through the fourth dimension into the fifth and beyond for life review and for clearing. releasing all these discarnates, all these souls that are trapped. Whew. Yes, Sam can see him leaving. So the karma is now complete. I just ask for the blood of Christ and the light of Melchizedek and the lights of the Order of Enoch, Sector 1, Type A, just to be released, all this white light pouring in now to each and everyone's minds, hearts and souls. And right true, I awaken everyone's third eye. What the scriptures say is that where the eye is evil, the body is evil. Where the eye is light, full of light, the body is full of light. And what I was seeing was that there's a lot of karma that's attached to people's sixth chakra or their third eye, lots of it. From witchcraft, from negative energy, from hatred, from harshness, from hardness in your hearts, from wounding. That's what I'm being told, which is a form of witchcraft and voodoo in itself. So a lot of hate. So when you hate and you have violence and anger and hate and bitterness in your heart towards anything or anyone, it's actually a form of witchcraft or voodoo or murder, because that energy is being sent into those people. And what that does is attacks them and harms them, but also brings karma back to you. So what's happening is these lifetimes of hate and viciousness and bitterness I'm seeing are actually being released and healed right now. And I just feel that for some of you, you'll be getting a sense of it and just sending lots of love to these souls and asking forgiveness and thanking them for forgiveness where it's needed back as well. And just sending forgiveness and receiving it back where it's necessary. Yeah, lots of trapped souls being released. Wow, this is heavy. It's taking a while to clear these ones. A lot of hate. I'm seeing beings trapped in dungeons too. Yeah, definitely need the feminine power energy. Grace, do you want to step in and help and provide the feminine here? Just need some feminine now. The masculine command, but the feminine energy is definitely needed here right now. So yes, we're going to ask for the Divine Mother, Pistis Sophia, Mary Magdalene to come in. Lexi's had one of the wildest sensations from a clearing ever. Wow. I have to hear more about that one, Lexi. Grace, I'd love you to step in.
Sure. I'm feeling so much heaviness anyway. It's like a dead white lead. It's just a lead coming. So as the feminine energy encompassing, expanding space, giving full permission to open up our hearts, allowing, surrendering. Well, that's a bit better. It's eased up a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's easing, yeah.
Opening up to the Christ consciousness, to light. receiving energy from source. And we just soften, we continue to soften our hearts. Continue to be transparent. Turning rocks so that anything that is hidden, we allow the light to come through. Any wounds and pains, we fully embrace it and we dive into it. We embrace the hero's journey. We are accepting. Knowing that unconditional love conquers all, conquers fear, tension. Giving over our cares and our burdens. Everything that matters. We totally, fully hand it over to the light. We love ourselves, we love one another, we love all living things. Drawing everybody and laying our foundation, grounding to Gaia. Taking deep our roots down to earth. We go below and we go above. With all our being, we reach to the heavens. We totally open up ourselves, be vulnerable, be fragile, be weak. In meekness, we come in humbleness to the light. We breathe in the spirit of life. We exhale all the wastes, darkness. We fully embrace our shadows, accepting our shadows. And bringing them to the light. With all our anguish, well, with all our depths of pain, again, we allow, we surrender. We take rest and refuge in the rock. We draw ourselves to love. We are love. We wait in stillness. We dissolve all our ego. We let go of the things of the world. We let go of our thoughts. Sundarabasiki andarabashike. Ki andarabasiki andareshiade. Sunaramasiki andaramashide. We tread softly in our hearts. We walk tenderly. We're gentle. We're kind. We're not rushed. With patience, and we move in faith. We let go, we relax in the current. We allow ourselves to be taken in the stream. We don't resist, we allow. We take comfort that we have the Holy Spirit to carry us, to give us wings to fly. We have comfort that this is a metamorphosis, that we shall have wings to fly. And in our darkest moments, there is a light. So we reach out to the light. We open up all our chakras to the light, taking us from our depths of darkness moving us into the surface. We take off our grey sackcloth and put on the valor of light. We are naked, we are fragile before the light, and we trust with all our hearts. We trust in the Maker that all is good for us. There is a promise. Expanding the space, breaking through time. Expanding all our universe, our parallel universe, multidimensional beings, we break through. We open ourselves up to the wheel upon the wheel within us, dissolving all our karma. There is no resistance in us. We fully trust. Moving the feminine power to fan the flame. We are all ministers of fire, fanning the fire within all of us to increase. to give us the courage to face the trials, to give us the courage to move forward, to take that step. Fanning the flame from all judgments. We do not judge ourselves, we accept all. We place no conditions on ourselves. We release all conditions, subconsciously, consciously. We are transient beings. There's no limitations. All things are possible. We release all our programmings and conditioning. Give it to the light. We hand it over. We continue to dissolve the ego and release. Dissolve all matter, all particles. We dive straight down to the power of the heart chakra. Dissolving all fears in love. Dissolving all worries in love. Dissolving all the scary shadows in love. Continuing to expand. Expand the heights, the width, the depth. And we float. We float in the river of life.
I'm starting to feel it's nicely cleared now. And just take a sip of water, everyone. Just, yeah. A few of you are sending me private messages about your reactions, so seems like a lot happening to people. Anyone want to take the mic and just share their experience before we finish today? And William, if you're still there, I'm just curious what you're sensing now. Yeah, I agree, Will. Yep. I sense it's being cleared now, but there's a lot to clear there. So well done for everyone for pushing through, because I could feel that today was heavy, but this is what it's going to take to be able to build up our spiritual muscles, get a bit stronger. Anyone got any comments or things to share before we finish today? Like what you got from today or what you felt in that clearing? Who actually felt particular, any shifts of any note or anything? I know Lexi was saying she had the wildest experience. For me, that had quite a bit happen to you, I can see. Max getting more released about being held in 3D, just 3D stuff, yeah. Yeah, a bad dream coming off me gradually. Yeah, well, living in this 3D world is like a bad dream, Max, if you think about it, and what we see going on right now. So what's actually happening is as we're clearing ourselves, we're actually clearing off the attachments to this earth and the karmic ties so we can get back to our real home, which is the real world, which is the cosmic world. Lexi, extremely hot energy leaving third eye. Hang on, just jumped up. Same releasing on 3D. Yep, Chris, they didn't feel anything. It went to a deep sleepy state. Yeah, getting cleared on that level. Sheldon was shaking. Lexi, it's like I'm always shifting, but it's so slow in this realm. Yeah, it is very slow in the 3D. Everything happens a lot slower. Like, for example, when we do healings, they actually happen quite instantly, but they can take weeks to sometimes happen in the 3D and integrate through your body. So what you're going to find is that a lot of what I'm actually going to suggest to some of you who are really keen to map your spiritual progress is whenever you have a significant clearing or you do some significant work like here, those of you who journal, write a note about it, write up what happened, and then come back in 6 weeks' time and notice what's happened since that time. So if it's been a release in the 3D, like Sam saying a painful burning third eye, I saw a lot of work happening around the third eye today, because basically astral karma, where you're mentally attacking or hating other people, that actually blocks your third eye. So as a lot of that's clearing from you, it's opening it up again. So yeah, so when Lexi, you write down what happened today. Yeah, my sense is if you use a journal, like who here actually has journals or does regular journaling? Because generally it takes up to 6 weeks for things to happen and integrate into the physical realm. That's the rule in terms of healing. So if you do an etheric clearing or any kind of major karmic clearing, it can happen quicker, but usually it takes up to 4 to 8 weeks, usually 6 weeks. So I would suggest if you have a significant clearing, even if it's just a brief note, even if you just get your journal, write today's date, just write down what happened in brief terms, and then just generally go back regularly and check your journal and map your progress. You'll be amazed, as you'll see. I think you'll find by 6 weeks from now, which is going to be somewhere around about the somewhere around about mid-February, 20th of February or so. Somewhere around that, you will notice a lot more openness in your third eye. For those of you who felt clearing today, you will actually notice more openness, and you'll notice that the 6 weeks leading up to that, a lot would have happened in your life around you, in your day-to-day life, as the clearing integrates into you. So I just wanted to share that with everyone today. But the way clearings actually happen is that they can take time to integrate into the physical. So listen to your messages. You may get led to eat differently. You may get led to increase your meditation, drink more water, In my case, I was there to go and spend more time in the grass and green grass and in sand and in nature. I'm spending a lot of time every morning just out there and during the day. I'm just getting out into nature and taking a lot of water. That's what I've been getting told at the moment. So anyway, some practical advice. So on that note, thank you everyone. And I trust you really enjoyed today. Next week, Yvonne's going to be sharing, and I'm really looking forward to that webinar. So make sure you come along and really enjoy it. And if you want to bring any of your friends, you're always welcome to this kind of stuff. And as we will expanding the work this year. And then after Yvonne next week, we're going to really continue on with the hero's journey and go through the rest of those stages of Joseph Campbell. Because I just got getting a sense that give ourselves 2 to 3 months to walk through these. And we're going to see a really good outcome that'll come out of all of this. I trust that resonates with everyone, that we do it that way. But my sense is rather than to rush through the hero's journey, let's give ourselves a good few months to really walk through all the stages and really apply it practically in our life. Okay, thank you everyone. And I will, thank you Lexi. And I will see you all basically next time.